Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Panel Network. This is Kristen, your favorite barber cosmetologist. As always, come through for your tape ups and your touch ups. I'm here. We're doing a very special sobriety podcast today. There's a lot of want for this, a lot of what's the word now? I'm freezing up because it's not just Will and
Interest.
a lot of interest in this subject, right? So we're gonna make a little bit of a series about this. I got a few special people joining me today, as you can see. We're gonna start from right to left with Lucas. And Lucas, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
What up? I'm Lucas. I'm coming up on 4 years clean in the next couple weeks here. I was a raging alcoholic for a long time in my life. Didn't have my shit together. My bad.
Yes.
Didn't have my stuff together.
Yes, feel free.
Cool. All right. Well, it ended up being a pretty hardcore spiritual awakening. Like, I've seen a lot of things. I got a pretty big story to tell. They always say that it's either like hospitalization, institution, or death. Well, I got to experience all three of them, and it was that last one that really opened my eyes, and been coming back from a pretty gnarly accident that woke me up. That was my spiritual awakening. I had to get in an accident. I was resuscitated several times. I'm titanium from the hip down. 26 broken bones, multiple organ failures, stayed a month in a coma, and I just want to be able to tell my story to kind of prevent others from getting into that situation. One of my biggest dreams was to be a world's strongest man, and I always told myself one day, and I was content with my group. I was the strongest person in my group, and I was content with that. And I never had any ambitions because alcohol kind of hindered all of that. It was always another day. But it took something big, and now from where I was to where I'm at, I've made huge strides, and I just want to share my story to let everybody know that no matter what, you can keep on keeping on. No matter what, how I was overweight before, I was an alcoholic, I was depressed, I tried medications, I was trying, rehabilitations. Like I was crying for help at the end of it all, and I went over the edge. But here I am now. Here I am to share the story, and I want to make sure that everybody gets to hear it and hopefully take something from it today.
Thank you,
Hell yeah.
Lucas.
Thanks.
Austin, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
It's like my least favorite question. As much as I love talking about myself, so that will surprise you. I'm Austin. I am 34. That is correct. I've been clean, sober, we've been called about 8 years. I just like building shit. I've learned this last year. I want the things that I create to be fucking undeniable. I like rallying people around a cause or a mission or an effort to do something different. And I think that that's my biggest grievance with the world is it's too much PvP, player versus player, and it's not collaborative enough. So my goal is always to just kind of harness my skills like monetization, building a business structure around it, to do that for the right reasons as best I can. I love creating opportunity. I just like making shit that people can be a part of, that they believe in, that helps them see what's always been in themselves the whole time, that maybe no one ever nurtured. Like one of my favorite quotes, Carl Jung, says like, kind of the sheer point of human existence is to kindle the light within the darkness. And like that's like really like, you get one or two just fucking stick with you. That's one. And I think that's kind of in everything I do to the best of my ability. And my goal is to just, as Lucas said, he said it perfectly. It's like just to tell the story so that people realize like you haven't ever been alone. It just felt like it. Now that you've seen me and heard my story, you recognize parts of yourself in me. And because of that, you now know that you are not alone. And because of that, you now have the strength to talk to others about it, which means it's a compounding effect. Like the more that you talk to her and she talks to you and they talk to a friend, and then all of a sudden at work, it's Donna from HR is like, oh my God, I saw this podcast. I saw you're on it. My son, my daughter was dying from addiction. What do I do?
Yep.
So isolating. And so like my mom will say some shut up. I don't know how many minutes it's been, probably a lot, but like I remember the first time my mom heard me like say something very public about addiction, and she like lost it. And, she's thinking like from like PR, how does this look on the fan? You know what I mean? And, but it's like, dude, do you realize that before I said this out loud, I was the kid that parents told their kids not to hang out with and don't ever bring them to my house? So, like, what's the worst that's going to happen?
Yeah, right.
It's like, they're like, oh, like, he's a scumbag, don't talk to him. It's like, well, I'd much rather them know that I've made an effort, I've made changes, and I'm trying than, hey, I just resigned myself to nothingness and I just am going to fade into the abyss. Goodbye. You know?
Right. And I love that point that you brought up about showing people that they're not alone, because I feel like that's such a huge thing in recovery. You know, we have such kind of limited, it's either going into a center or AA, and there's a lot of people that don't necessarily like those versions of recovery, but just us all being here today and being able to spread our message and show people that, yeah, we do recover. There is hope, even in the most bleak circumstance. No matter what, there is hope if there's a will. So thank you. Brian, do you want to give us, or should Austin give us your rundown? No, go ahead. We want to hear
better
from
than
you.
I could.
We're all here for Brian. Everybody say hello, Brian.
Hello,
Brian.
Howdy, Brian.
So my name's Brian. Struggled in active addiction for 25 plus years. And, you know, through stuff like this, podcasts like this, and other people just like yourselves believing in me, I was able to change my life. So that's why I do this. That's why I recover out loud consistently. I'm coming up on a big anniversary for myself, and it's the longest I've ever been clean in my life.
That's amazing.
2 years. So
Yay.
today I have 703 days.
Congratulations.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you.
Count every day. They matter every day.
And, you know, I would have liked to said my rock bottom was, you know, the crazy stuff that happened, the 52 arrests or the severe accident where I wound up in a coma as well. But it wasn't. It was something that would seem very menial to most. But a human being that was the human being I prayed for most of my life to come and be there and actually love me and accept me for who I was. I found that person, and it still in the beginning wasn't enough to change.
Right.
Until they set some boundaries and were willing to stand behind those boundaries and put me to the curb. And that was the motivation that it took for me to change my ways. Surrender.
Right? Right.
So here I am.
Well, we're very happy to have you. Thank you very much. Nikki, would you like to share?
Yes. Yeah, I am Nikki. Hello. I am 17 months sober from alcohol.
Congratulations.
Which, for those of us who don't have kids and can't easily calculate 17 months, is 1 year and 5 months. Because I had to go through that. Yeah. Well, before I had kids, I'm like 18. They're 18 months old.
Yeah. No, they're almost 2.
So yeah, a year and 5 months. I've been sober from alcohol. And what else are we saying? So I wanted to come and do this because, well, my sister actually shared your post with me, and I was like, I don't have a story because I really don't have much of a story.
Everybody has a story.
Everybody has a story.
You know, just nothing to, I mean, I have crazy stories that I've done when I'm drinking, but I don't really have that interesting of a story. But I think I wanted to come, one, I'm sort of newer to this than I think maybe most, well, definitely like you guys. So being newer, I've never really been around like a sober group. I didn't do AA or anything. So I was just excited to come like check out what other sober people have to say. I'm lucky to have like a supportive family, but no really like sober people. Other than my husband got sober the same time as me. So we've been like big
Congratulations.
supports.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that's a big
Thank
thing
you.
about doing
Yeah.
this is like the
Yeah.
community and
Yeah.
bringing us all together. Like, you know,
Yeah.
like he said, isolation, man. You're so
Yeah.
used to that. And, you know, people our age in particular is such a plight, you know.
Yeah.
And so to just be able to be
Yeah.
here and share our stories and support, it's
Yeah.
like we are gonna make a series of this. I want to hear all of your stories. Slide in my DMs.
Yeah.
You know, slide in Will's DMs in the panel network. Like, we want to hear everything. We're planning on doing this for a couple more weeks and whatever. So let us hear all your stories, please. We want to
Yeah.
hear them. And
And
thank
what-
you for being here.
Yeah. What really, really helped me in the beginning was TikTok.
Yeah.
So just like sober talk was crazy. I didn't know it was there. And it was like younger people who were sharing their stories and giving tips, which I'm like, I need tips and strategies.
Right,
so
right.
I got lots of those and they worked. And I was like, this is awesome. And then also just, I think I was kind of the opposite as maybe you, where I was like the perfectionist and had it really good on the outs, looking really, really good on the outside, and did not want to admit that there was a problem,
Right,
or
right.
because that would be like, I'm not perfect. I don't
Yeah.
have it together. I can't do this like a normal person.
Yeah,
So
admitting defeat. That's definitely
Yeah.
like admitting that you're powerless over
Yeah.
alcohol. Like that's
Yeah.
step one. Is just like I hated
Yeah.
that getting, in my first bit of recovery. It's just like, what the fuck do you mean I'm not more powerful than alcohol? But
Yeah.
no, that's
I can
natural.
quit
believe
whenever I want.
That's a
Yeah.
spirit. Like I can't think of anything, the things that it does. Anyway, we'll
Yeah.
get to that later. Amanda.
Hello, everyone. I'm
Hello,
Amanda.
What up?
Hey. Coming up on 3 years sober February 6th.
Yay.
Alcohol, cigarettes, and
Oh,
drugs.
that's a hard one to kick, bro. The cigarettes.
Nice.
I quit cold turkey. I realized I hit a point in my life that I didn't want to be in anymore. And it kind of took me down a road of realizing that this is not how I wanted to live my life anymore. And so, yeah, I've done it for almost 3 years. I had no help. I have people in my life that support me, which I'm very grateful for. But as far as programs or anything like that, I didn't have to attend them. I did it all my own willpower. So I'm happy to share my story. This is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. I actually know some of the people here, which is even more awesome because we're on the journey together.
It is a small world.
It's a very small world. But yeah, I'm happy to be here. Happy to share my story with you guys. So
We're happy to have you.
short and sweet.
Thank you, Holly.
I'm Holly. I'm a recovering opioid addict from June 20th of 2017. I was kind of the opposite. I thought that was my life. This is it. Like, my family did it. This is it. So this is something I've been trying to share from a mother's point of view. I think there's a stigmatism around your mom. You have to have it all together. You can't tell people this. I have 2 daughters that are 18 and 19, and I want them to know. Let me call my mom because she's been through this.
Yep.
She can help me. She knows where to go. She knows who to call. It happens to everybody. If you think it's not going to happen to you, it's going to happen. Your mom, your sister, your brother, somebody. So I kind of like Lucas, I want to share my story for people for that stigmatism of nobody has it all together. There's not one person that has it all together. So you're not alone. Like,
Facts.
talk to people. And I'm kind of in the same group. I did go to a detox. But I never went to a rehabilitation center. It just wasn't for me. I did a few NA and AA meetings. I needed to get in the real world. It's just who I am. Like, I just got to do it.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I never had a relapse, which is, a little different. But
job.
by the grace of God, he kept me, and I'm still here. And I want to share my story with women, men, young, old, whoever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's very important. Well, thank you guys so much for sharing. I personally have been on this recovery journey for give or take 3 years. I've had my moments of slipping up and everything, but really just through willpower. I have gone through AA and whatnot just to get out there and try and find people that are more like-minded. And I feel like the problem in AA is that you don't come across a lot of young people. I mean, I know God bless, I love everybody in my meetings and stuff, but like I know a lot of people there are like 80. And that's very hard when you're somebody my age and, you're listening to people who's got 40 years sobriety, bless your heart, but like, tell me what to do,
Yeah. And to be social.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think our first question is, what I'm very curious about is I want to know about everybody's first drink, because when I think back to mine, I want to say about 15 years old. I thought that I was Billy Badass and thought that a case of Budweiser and a bottle of Jack Daniels would be a good, you know what I mean? Do a super heavy pour and be like, I've got this. It's my first drink ever. I specifically remember my best friend at the time waking up and making just hot dogs, just straight hot dogs. You know what I mean? And I woke up and I smelled that hot dog water and just barfed all over her mom's.
water.
Yes, we love a Limp Bizkit moment.
Hey.
But that hot dog water, bro, that got me, and honestly, after that, I was kind of like, I don't really like throwing growing up, but I was an adult alcoholic. We're about, 28 to 32. I went hard. So I'm curious to hear about everybody's first drink, and, if you're comfortable delving into like, a little bit about your background. I was not raised by alcoholic parents at all. I had two sides with my father and his family were very active addicts. Every single one of them has been lost to addiction, suicide, and whatnot. And then the other side of my family is very, my grandma and grandpa were together for 60 years, very like, I cut salt of the earth. Like, no, we drink Bloody Marys at wakes and in weddings. You know what I mean? Other than that, like, I was not raised in an alcoholic household. I was taught, I believe, alcoholism. So let's start with Lucas. We're going to go back around this way. Back to you, buddy.
All right.
Yeah, tell us about your first drinks.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's kind of I guess kind of happened like 2 times, I guess you could say. I do recall the very first time. I was 5 years old. We were living in a trailer and all the adults were partying. And I specifically remember them pouring it into my little Batman cup. It was the animated Batman series. It was a little clear cup. They poured it in there. It was about halfway. I drunk it. Ha 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 ha. It was all funny, whatever, right? And I know, like from there, it just never was like oh my God, I got to stay away from it. But I never like went searching for it. When I was 12 years old, 12 or 11, my cousin that lived up in Chicago at the time, he had picked me up. Like I really looked up to him. He, just somebody that I was like, oh, I always play video games, Mortal Kombat, Sega. I was always into what he had going on. He was significantly older than me. He took me out one night. We got pizza, we hung out, went to the comic shops and such. And then he wanted to go hang out with his friend, but him hanging out with his friend was him drinking. So for whatever reason, he thought it was a good idea to go ahead and give his 12-year-old cousin some Ice House and some peppermint schnapps. And, we hung out, and we did the thing. And I was a Billy Badass hanging out with the older guys. And we went back to his house that night. And yeah, I puked my little ass off everywhere. I'll never forget hanging in that. I was in the tub, puking out of the tub into the toilet. Like I'll never forget that moment. And I remember his younger brother, my other cousin, was just chewing him out. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? Why the fuck would you take that kid out to drink? Like, he was the right-minded one. And I remember that was probably the beginning of it. Like when that switch clicked, when you're like, all right, this is what I feel like. This is what's going to happen now. And yeah, from there, I'd get a little nip here and there at the parties because every mom's side Hispanic, father's, the Caucasian side. But my mother's side, they would just, every party, quinceañeras, birthdays, you already know how it is. I don't got to get into it. Every party there was a case somewhere, a bottle somewhere. So it was really easy and accessible to get. I mean, at that time, by that time, like I said, I was already turned on. I was ready to rock and roll, ready to go. I didn't have a lot of guidance in my life either. My father, I'm not going to say he wasn't around because he was, but I mean, realistically speaking, there could have been put forth more effort, but that's something that I realize now that as a parent, it's a whole nother, whatever. My mother, she was there. I lived with her. Obviously she worked 2 jobs usually, or like, long hours. So I spent a lot of time by myself, a lot of time by myself. Loneliness is my homie. Like that's what I do. Lonely up here for the longest time. And it was, it felt like after I started drinking that loneliness I could separate from, because one of my biggest memories also from being a kid, aside from that, like, learning how to drink, was just being alone, being in the attic with my toys. Like it was like that classic attic A-frame picture window. I would look outside, I'd have my toys, my Transformers, Ninja Turtles, what have you, like those were my guys growing up. Those were my father figures, the Master Splinters, the Optimus Primes, the Batman, Alfred, like that was who I looked up to. So I mean, in that regard, you only get so much guidance from cartoons, you know what I mean? When you're out there in your day-to-day life, you can't say, hey, Batman, what would you do here? It's like I'm talking to my action figure. So it's like I got left to my own devices for a long time. So I ended up, guiding myself through life. And that wasn't a good catalyst to start off with, So, I mean, that's kind of like where my little background is, my first drink, what I can remember. This is it's a blessing and a curse. I remember so much. You'd be surprised. I'm actually writing a book right now, a chronological book of my life leading up to the whole, everything going on, and
That's
autobiography.
awesome.
So
Yeah, very, very cool.
But yeah, with that, I'll pass.
Austin, would you like to tell us about your first drink?
First drink, Miles Atherton, my basement. After shout out Miles Atherton, if you do see this, after a baseball tournament, my parents like they had, you know that what, Malibu, very soft drink, a very soft drink. You know what I mean? We were going hard. I was like maybe 14, and we just like it was terrible. We hated it. We were like, yeah, we're gonna drink it. We drank it, and then I drink it, and I'm like, he drinks it. He's like, yeah, this is awesome, dude. You know, like, and that it didn't hit then, right? So that was like maybe 14 or something, and then you know, obviously you drink here and there, but like where it took off, around the same age, I had like like my was a deviated septum, like I couldn't breathe. It got real bad, like couldn't breathe at all. I had the surgery, and they gave me that golden tussin. I'll never forget that, man. And I just took a little slurp of that stuff, and I was like, it's gonna be all right. Yeah, like that's how I felt. Like I had surgery and face was all fucked up, and I was like 13, 14. I was like, it's gonna be all right. Still, that isn't where like addiction. That's where addiction took hold, I think. But it wasn't until maybe 15, 16. One of my very close friends committed suicide. They kind of just were like, "Man, so sorry. Like, you want to skip school today?" And like that was it. Like that was just, and nobody's fault. It is what it is. No one knows how to talk to you about that, right? But I think that really just kind of fucked me up. That like no one, like we're not acknowledging this. We're not talking about this. Like everyone's just kind of acting like this happened and like move along. It's like it's not like that. Shortly after that, I like got my hands on opiates for the first time. It was Vicodin and Percocet, and I took a few of them, and I was like, "Ooh, like, all right, I want to like,
There it is.
I want to be social. I want to clean something. I want to participate in life for the first time in my life. I was like, I want to participate in this shit. This is cool, man. Let's do whatever." And then the last one I'll say is like when I think addiction, like it had me. So it obviously progressed from there and eventually turned to heroin. It's just a more cost-effective, pragmatic solution, of course, you know. And the first time I shot it, I will never. There's only been one other thing that's even come close that wasn't drug-related, but that feeling, it still give me the bumps, man. I had to go clean a deck. I was getting paid to clean a deck after that. Cleaning that deck was like the most euphoric experience of my entire life. Man, I'm just out there just just cleaning away, like totally free bliss. Yeah. Like that exhaustion I felt my whole life, that loneliness I felt my whole life, that discontent, that displacement I felt my whole life of I don't belong, this ain't right, something's wrong, I don't know what to do with this, anxiety, like all of that was gone. Yep. For the first time ever with the first one. And then once, by the time cleaning the deck, the first time I shot it, I was like, man, that was only $10. Thinking at the time, like, this is how it's going to be now. You know, you should have $10. I'm good for, you know, like a while. And it was like, before I know it, that $10 lasted 35 minutes at best, you know? And that's when it owned me. I gave myself to it. Like, it was like, there is no other option. There is nothing I can do. Like I am prisoner to this. But in a weird, fucked up way, I kind of like that. You know what I mean? There's a safety in it, right? But it's the opposite of safety. It's just, it's a Stockholm syndrome. Masochism. Except you're the captor and the victim. It's like, what do you do? But you also need it now physically to live. So.
So
how was that?
You were asking what would Cobain do? Every problem that came up, what would Kurt Cobain do?
Shoot a little heroin. You figure it out. Shoot a little heroin. Figure it out. Talk about it later.
Lucas is over here asking what would Batman do? You just went the totally opposite direction. Wow, Kurt Cobain. All right. So what the moral of the story is? Be like Lucas. Ask what would Batman do for
what would Batman? What would Optimus Prime do?
Watch Batman. Don't do heroin. That's kind of like the PSA.
Watch Batman. Don't do drugs. Watch
go.
Batman. Don't do
Stay
drugs.
tuned
Look,
for
maybe
another
if I would have
episode.
watched Batman, it would have kept me from all of this.
Then you wouldn't have a story to tell.
Mic drop.
Then you wouldn't have a story to tell.
What would Adam West do?
Ooh.
Stay tuned for another podcast on the great debate of who is the best Batman. Because I
who's the hottest
George
Batman?
Clooney nipples all the way.
That's the you're really talking is who's the hottest Batman?
Nipples.
Michael Keaton.
No, it's George
All
Clooney
day.
and
Michael
his nipples.
Keaton.
And
Shout
he
out
had
Michael
the best
Keaton.
car.
Multiplicity, most underrated movie
Wait,
of all
he
time.
just gave a
That's
shout
my
out to George
God,
Clooney.
know.
You know who you got to shout out?
Hey, shout out to my main man Shaq. You are my inspiration in all that I do. Sammy Sosa, you too. Yeah, we're gonna get Shaq on the show. So yeah, and I'm gonna OD on his gummy heads.
Whoa.
It's how I want to. It's how I want to go. Okay, just leave me alone. Leave me alone. Bury me in a Superman cape. All right, moving on to Brian. Say something that's not ridiculous.
So my first drink was I was 10 at my brother's wedding. And I grew up being a very shy kid. And that was the first experience where I felt like I could talk to anybody and everybody
Yeah.
and actually fit in. I would say at 15 is when like I crossed that imaginary line from normal life to addiction or social use to addiction. And then, you know, once I had used opiates for the first time, much like Austin, I felt I had arrived in life.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was going to be the best worker. I was going to be the funniest guy at the party. I was going to be the most handsome, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I thought all those things were true once I found opiates, you know, because I grew up with this empty hole in my soul. My mother struggled with heroin addiction, and she passed away when I was 10. My dad raised 4 children on his own. Had to work lots of jobs, so a lot of absentee. I was home alone. You know, my brothers were 12 and 14 years older than me, so I was exposed to a lot of things that I shouldn't have been as well. So I kind of learned the ropes very, very early, and, you know, it took off. I became like that go hard or go home addict pretty quick. And, you know, it usually took a jail cell to stop me. I wasn't willing to just stop. You know, I was crazy and kind of like Austin said too, like I was willing to do whatever it took to get one more, right? Everything in my life revolved around using drugs. You know, I didn't have an identity other than the drugs or the lifestyle that went along with it. So I was just balls to the wall for a long, long time. Like I said earlier, I spent 25 years in active addiction. And then somebody for the first time, you know, I was the angry guy. And somebody for the first time while I was being that angry guy, they told me, they didn't try and tell me to calm down. They didn't tell me to change my ways. They simply told me they seen me. And they seen me for who I was and accepted that crazy guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that was like the beginning of a change in my life. And now I've got a life, you know, beyond my wildest dreams. I've got relationships. I've got friends, you know, and I approach life crazy still to this day. But it's in a different realm, right? You know, the recovery realm, like building stuff. Life's just good. You know, I wake up every day grateful to be alive because for a long time I was trying to kill myself with one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very hard-hitting, real way to look at it. You know, we all know what we're doing, and it's just like, just one more. It'll be fun this time.
Not me.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. Well, that's a long road, dude, and you should be very, very proud of yourself.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
proof there you can use
Yeah.
for 25 years and still come out of it, you know, and have an actual life, live life for the first time. It's very impressive.
You really do get that buttery, soft podcast voice. Now that
Yeah.
I'm hearing it through headphones, man, I'm like,
soothing, it's
damn,
calming.
dude. Yeah, I'm like, I need to get this motherfucker to read
true.
me an audio book.
Yes.
Here you go, Brian.
That's
There's a new
one
career
story.
for you.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Interesting.
buttery. You
Hit
said
up-
buttery.
hit up Audible.
Buttery soft. It is. You know
It
it.
is.
Admit it. You know it. It is.
Gassing him up.
Man
It
was
is.
built for radio.
Butter.
Come on.
Marvin Gaye,
Here
he's
you
coming
go.
for you.
This is his segment. It's all been leading
I'm
right here
saying.
to
Here I
this
am.
moment.
Here I am.
I've arrived.
Yes, it's your time to shine.
Holy shit.
Yes. All right. What about you, Nikki?
Okay, well, I grew up around alcohol, so it's hard to say my first. I had sips here and you know, beer
The
at the
foam
baby
off the beer,
showers
right,
and stuff.
right,
yeah,
yeah.
like it was just a thing. So, but my first time getting drunk was I was 13. I was with my older cousins.
Those fucking older cousins.
Partying
man.
in a basement, you know?
Yeah, mine are gonna watch this. You know exactly who you are.
And I can't blame them because they were 15. They had their own, their own stuff going on. They shouldn't have been doing it either, but I was there. And yeah, it was Bacardi Lemon. Haunts me to this day.
Oh man.
Smell is great
yeah,
afterwards, isn't it?
Yeah. Lemon hand sanitizer just
Yeah.
takes me right back.
Oh god.
But yeah, puking. But then I woke up the next day like, oh, that was awesome.
I'm an adult
Yeah.
now.
Like
It's a good
I
world.
felt that carefree feeling of like, I don't care what, people think or if I say something stupid. And then people were like, you were so funny. So that was like like I can be, people like me when I'm
Yeah.
drinking. And then that just continued to be reinforced throughout my teenage years and hung around. Everybody drank in my town. There was nothing to do except get
Yep.
fucked
I'm from
up.
Lowell. It's very small
Sounds
town
Yeah.
drinking down there. Let me tell you.
So
Absolutely.
we
Yeah.
all drank and we all partied and we all had a great time until people started dying.
yeah,
And
it's always fun. When
then,
It's
yeah.
always a party crash.
And then,
yeah.
like somehow I still kept my shit together enough to like go to college, party at college, and then like as an adult, it was more the binge drinking weekends, like go out and just go balls to the wall Friday, Saturday, and then it didn't really become like a daily, it was a problem my whole life, but once the pandemic hit, it was on like
Yeah.
daily, drinking to where then then it was just like almost constant.
Oh yeah,
a
and
little
especially that lockdown. That lockdown lifted the first time. I was like, I'm going to the bar.
Yep.
Yeah, it was summer. I'm like, I get to wear a dress. Somebody gets to see it.
Yeah.
I get to drink a vodka creamer.
Yeah.
Girl, yeah,
You could
for
take
real, for real.
cocktails to go.
Yeah, yeah. You think you're so cute and funny until you see the video next day, and you're like, I look and sound like Ron White. Like this is not a good look.
So that was it.
All right, Amanda.
Well, I could sit here and tell you guys about my, fucked up childhood too, but I did not have my first drink until I was 17 years old, wildly enough. But it all fucking went downhill from there. I had gone to a party with some friends, and it was in this little tiny shed, and there was a little kiddie pool in there, and we were sitting inside that bitch drinking. And it was Smirnoff apple vodka. Anything apple flavored, I cannot do. It makes me want to vomit immediately. But I was like, damn, this shit's good. And I'm just drinking it out of the bottle. Like, cool. Everything was great until I went to stand up. And yeah, I fell. And the room was just spinning. I didn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I go outside to pee, and as I'm peeing, I fell over. And everyone came outside, and they're just like, ha, ha, ha. And, like, no one's helping me. I'm like, what the fuck do I do? Like, you know what I mean? So finally, like, one of the guys came out, and he, like, helped me pull up my pants and, like, was all chill about it and everything. They had to throw me in the back of my friend's car. I'll never forget them stopping to get me milk to make me throw up,
Oh no.
which I hate milk as it is.
That's
And
so
so
terrible.
having to drink it, I was seeing, like, 10 stoplights as we're driving. I thought I was dying, literally. We switched cars like twice because like no one wanted to be the one to take me home. They're like, you know what? Who's gonna be the last person to drop her off? So like they're the one to blame. You know what I'm saying?
Tuck and roll. Tuck
Yeah,
and
it's
roll.
like, yeah.
Right.
So my friend John, lucky him, he drops me off. He pushes me. He just gives me a little push towards my door.
Go with God.
I had
Goodbye.
to fucking climb the stairs, and knock on the door at like whatever crazy time it was. And my dad answers, and I remember him just screaming at me, but I couldn't understand what he was saying. And I guess I passed out in bed, and the next day I wake up and I come out there, and he's like, "What the fuck did you do last night?" And I was like, "I drank." And he's like, "Were you drugged?" He's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "You were passed out. I thought you were dead." Like, that's how much I had drank to where I was like incoherent, like don't remember shit. I can remember this story though. That's the wild part about drinking.
Mhm.
So, the following day, like, he was trying to get all this information. I'm like, you don't need to know where I was. Like, I'm alive. I'm good. Like, I don't need to be telling on people, whatever. But that was my first experience. And so, like, after that, even, like, the shitty feeling and upsetting my dad and making him worry, I kept doing it.
Yeah.
And, it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And we'll get into that later. But that's mine.
All right. Thank you, Holly.
Okay, so I'm a little different. I am the oldest of three. I have two brothers. Both of my parents were addicts, drinking, all that good stuff. So I had to be the good kid. My brothers started when they were probably 5, like Lucas. And so I tried to be the savior for my brothers. So I think I was about 17. And it wasn't anything special, I could say that. But kind of like you had said, Austin, when I did drink, I drunk to black out. Like I didn't want to remember. And then once I was prescribed by a doctor opioids for an injury I had. And I remember saying, I don't even need these. Like I never tried drugs. That wasn't who I was, right? My ex-husband said, oh, you got to take them, and the doctors were like, if you're not in pain, you don't need them. You can go back to work. My shoulders all hanging down. So I took that first one. And I mean, you hit it on the head. I was like, I am everything to everybody right now. Like I can do anything. Like I care about everything. I'm going to take my time. Everything matters. And then as soon as you come down, you're like, F that. And then you're like, I need another one. And then it kicks back in and you're everything to everybody again. So, then I had to choose, do I want to get blackout drunk and die because I'm on these opioids and I'm overdosing on both of them, or do I want to be everything to everybody? So I chose opioids over alcohol, as sick as that sounds. And at that point is when I realized it was done. I was still getting prescribed them from the doctor. This is in 2007, I believe, before they knew it was pretty bad. And I think they were prescribing me about 600
Peak times.
Yeah, Norcos
Ooh, I was
a
gonna
month.
say.
I mean, and literally
Yeah.
you would call
Good
them and they'd fill them. It was no problem.
Yeah.
And so we all thought we didn't have a problem, right? Because we're getting prescribed and the doctor's giving to us. It's great until that moment when they realize it's a problem. They're like, you're cut off, and you're sitting there like, okay.
Yeah, Jones and then.
Yeah. And then I had some pretty close family members say, oh, we can get him off the streets.
Yeah,
And I
right.
was like, oh, huh? And they're
that's
like, yeah,
safe.
this old lady down the street. And I'm like, really? And that was it. Like, that's how it started to be not prescribed problem.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say it was a problem. It was prescribed problem. And I still didn't think I had a problem. I think it was about 4 years in when I couldn't borrow enough money, make enough money, sell enough stuff, steal enough stuff to not be sick, to be what I needed to be for that day. And luckily I had somebody, by the grace of God, that gave me an out that I didn't think I deserved. And that was it. Like, that was like the changing point. But I was like, kind of like how you said, I was the perfectionist. Like, I got to be there for my brothers. Like, my mom's drunk at 5 a.m. and they got to go to school. Like, I got to be the good one, right? When I took that opioid, I was like, this is what you guys have been feeling like. This is great. No responsibility. But unfortunately, I did lose one of my brothers to addiction in 2021 in a rehabilitation center.
Wow.
Yeah, he had been clean about 65 days. Somebody brought something in and
Oh man.
yeah, it was pretty bad. They did get him to the hospital, but by then, he was just on life support.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was an eye opener for me. Like, even though I had been sober for years, I was like, man, I seen what it did to my family. My mom now is recovering. So is my dad. And I was like, man, like, that could have been me. I could have been the cause of all this grief.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the grief that I caused being an addict was horrible.
Yeah.
And he thought he was going to be here tomorrow to keep getting clean, and like that, it was gone.
Yeah.
So I think that just really sunk in for me at that point. Like, even though I had been sober 4 years, that point I was like, okay, like, this is the real deal. I've seen a lot of people die, but to have your little brother actually trying, and to realize that the people that are doing it don't care while they're doing it. They don't care who they take down,
Right.
unfortunately,
No,
because they're
not
not
at
in their
all.
right mind.
Mhm.
It's not that they don't care. That's just not who they are at the moment.
Yep.
So like I said, like I had some drinks here and there, but I always had to be in control. So I didn't really like it. I didn't like but when I had that, like I said, that first opioid, it was like, okay, the control doesn't matter anymore. And I'm okay with that because I think I'm in control,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's very funny the fact that like basically everybody in here had brought up like childhood trauma,
Yeah.
which is a whole other episode that we can go
Yeah.
into.
Yeah.
But I think that what we should take away from this particular question is protect your children
Yes.
first and foremost,
See,
because
Tenfold.
yeah,
I'm an
yeah.
advocate for that one right there.
Yes,
for
exactly.
sure.
I mean, just alcohol for a teenage person because of the development your brain is in is not good. Let alone a 5-year-old. Like I can just that personally disgusts me, and I'm gonna move past that because I don't want to get angry today.
And,
But,
you know, and
yes.
as you're a teenager, to give it to a teenager, they think they have all these problems.
Oh
They
my
got
God,
hormones
yeah.
going on,
Yeah.
and so you give it to them, and now you're debilitating them to be able to work through these emotions.
Yeah, with
and
a
you're
crutch.
giving them something. Yeah,
Yes, yes.
yeah.
That's all generational. I very
Yeah.
much believe that. My father's side was all addicts, suicide, drugs, alcohol, everything. And it's like, did my mic? Oh, I thought my mic sounded
We
like
can
my
hear
mic
you
just
still.
cut out. Yeah, now I lost my train of thought. All right, let's
Breaking the
move-
cycle. That's what you're
Yeah,
saying.
Yeah,
yes,
break the cycle.
breaking the generational cycle. That is huge. I think huge. And I have a little guy, and he is autistic. And let me tell you, like, a big reason why I quit, which we'll get down the line if I ever make it down there. Big reason why I quit is because I don't want my son to follow in those footsteps. That just is like the most devastating thing. You know, his father's also an addict and whatnot. And the thought that was my thing. Like, if your dad's going to continue to be an addict, I'm not, you
Yep.
know, because one of us has to be the responsible parent.
Yeah.
So with that being said, now let's switch gears and go to your last drink. Do we want to talk about what your last drink was?
Well, that's kind of a difficult question right there. I don't remember it, but I
Yeah.
know it happened. That's actually like leading up to the accident situation because I mean at this point it was January 25th, 2021. I know that was the day of the last drink because that's the day I ended in the coma. So I don't recall a week prior to that, and I'm assuming that's because of the trauma that I went through in the accident. Like it just completely control alt deleted. I don't remember anything. It was the 18th, January 18th, 2021 was the last day I remember. But yeah, they found. Of course, there was alcohol in my system. I was full blown fucking alcoholic at that time. But I was coming back from my daughter in Illinois, and as I was coming back, I guess that's where I had rolled the F-250, like 300 feet in the field. Allegedly walked 50 feet, fell in the snow face down. That's when my femur collapsed. Cop found me that night, got me to the trauma center in Kankakee. They couldn't fly me to Chicago because it was like a blizzard or like blizzard warning that night. So they ended up having to transfer me to the Carl Care Center in Illinois. And that's where I stood my month-long coma. And while I was there, while I was in the coma, I mean, I wasn't offline. I was seeing things and stuff, man. I was there.
Like
Wow.
what?
I was I seen how I broke my bones in alternate realities. Like in this reality, it was all in one sitting. But in one reality, that's how I broke my shoulder. And the other one, that's how I broke my collarbone. The other one is how I broke my spine and my ribs. Like in different realities.
So you always broke them.
Yeah. Yeah. So they were all, but in this lifetime, they all broke at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go there.
And after I had some of those experiences, I also recall looking through the eyes of another, like through others' lives, like through the eyes of other lives. Like I remember specifically being other people and going through that. And there's three of them specifically that I do recall. After I had those three, like, you know, I don't know what to even call them, like
Remote viewing.
Encounters.
yeah. After I had those three, then it took me into purgatory, and I was hung out in purgatory. I had met my spirit guide. He was actually under the knife, having a brain operation at the time. So that was like even crazier when I found that out, like how everything kind of synced up, because I thought it was just a coincidence that he was there. But when I seen him, I remember he said, "Hey, if you're here, don't worry about it. You're not going up there. You're going back." And then when I looked up, like it was just, it's hard to even describe like the feeling because it was nothing, but it was everything. And I didn't see anybody's faces, but I felt everybody's presence, like anybody that I'd interacted with that had passed in this, like that had passed away in this life.
Oh, wow.
I seen and felt like their energy, their essence, their spark, if you could, if you would.
Oh yeah, you were gone, guy.
I was gone, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 heart failures,
Yeah,
that'll do
that's
that to you.
amazing. That's
But
amazing. Yeah.
I mean, do I remember my last drink? No, I do not. I still don't know I don't know much about that whole situation or that week leading up to it. Like the last thing, like I said, I remember my brother, he had ended up in a coma himself a week prior to that date on the January 10th. He was in a coma for like 3 days because somebody bludgeoned him or he fell down or he was fucked up too. All right? He was struggling with his own addiction. He ended up being found at the bottom of a stairwell in Cedar Lake somewhere. They got him to the hospital. They stabilized him. He was able to get out in a week, but he was having some issues. And it was why I remember that day, the 18th specifically, is because I went to the hospital to get a copy of his release papers to get him to my tia. And like that was just the last thing that I can remember, no matter how much I bring myself
Yeah.
to these memories, that's the last thing I can remember. But obviously, I know that the last day was the 25th, the day of the accident. You know, it was in my blood. They found the bottle, 100 proof whiskey. Woo! Like, so yeah, we used to go hard in the paint, and that's what I recall from all that. And any other questions you guys want to talk about
Yeah,
later?
no, we're definitely probably going to feature Lucas on another episode because I definitely want to lead into the more spiritual aspect. Definitely the near death. I want to hear
And then,
everything that you have to say.
not only just going through the spiritual stuff, but even when I woke up, you know, I mean, I couldn't move, I couldn't speak, I couldn't communicate. I didn't know what happened. I couldn't figure out what happened, you know. So I sat there for a couple of days before I even was told, "Hey, you were in an accident. Hey, you were the only one." Like, you know, I got 4 kids. I didn't know if there was somebody with me. I didn't know if I had a head-on collision with someone. All I knew was I was in a hospital somewhere, you know. And like even coming back too, like I remember, the last vision that I had, it was kind of like a mix of reality and, you know, that distorted reality when I was coming back too. Um, I remember I was watching the movie Fallen with Denzel Washington. That movie was on TV, and it was like 11 o'clock, you know, midnight, something like that. It was the twilight hours. And I remember when I came back, I want to say I almost like remember death bringing me back. You know, he's just the messenger. You know, his job is to bring you back, take you away. And it's like almost in a sense, I remember like coming back and like while that movie was going on, I don't know if you know much about that movie, but it's about like spiritual entities and things like that, and like a demonic spirit, and like for a long time, my heart wasn't in the right place. But like I don't know, from what I know now, what I've seen now, I'm not gonna say that I believe in God or Jesus per se, but I could tell you what, there's a higher power, and I tell you that I believe in him, and I can honestly say that after I woke up, after I found out that I was not. I was the only one hurt. You know, there was no one else with me. My second thought was, holy shit, I feel the burden of alcoholism lifted off my shoulders. And for whatever reason, the whole idea of like the physical endurance that I had to get through, like to even get to this point where I'm walking and speaking and stuff, like that didn't seem like a damn thing to me. It didn't seem like shit to me. You know, I was finally free from that fucking demon of alcoholism.
Yeah.
So everything else had just felt so just freeing. I can embrace it. You know, that demon wasn't there anymore. That hold wasn't there anymore. It's almost like when I got brought back. If you know, if you want to think of the idea of God and Satan, you know, God was like, "Hey, bro, leave that motherfucker alone. He did enough for you. He did enough sinning for you. You got enough out of him. Leave him the fuck alone. He needs to be here now."
Yeah.
So I mean, in a sense, you know, it's kind of what it feels like. So yeah, that's my last drink.
Did you find the brain surgery guy?
Yeah, that was my
Did you talk to
that
him?
was my concrete mentor. Yeah, I
shit.
spoke to him and I mentioned that to him. And from what his wife told me, like after I mentioned that to him, it freaked him out. Like it kind of jarred him.
Shook.
And he didn't want to like hang out with me after that. Like we talked on the phone and shit, but he did not want to like hang out and talk about that. And then sadly enough, he passed away. He passed away a couple years ago. R.I.P. Ronnie.
Don't let the goose
get loose. You know, he reminded me to act like a fucking concrete guy every day. You know, one of those male figures that I had in my life that was just something positive to look up to. I mean, even though we all knew he was an asshole, he's a fucking concrete guy. You know, he's a dickhead, but he took me under his wing. He showed me a lot of things about as far as being an entrepreneur. You know, not just concrete work, but you know, he taught me a lot about the things that he went through because you know he struggled with his own issues and through his life. So yeah, like I don't know for whatever reason that's where it took me, and that's who I met, and for whatever reason that's you know it was him. I don't know why. I mean, I'd known him for like 10 years at that point or so, but it was just wild that that's who it was. It was wild that it was in his driveway in front of his car, like in his truck. Like I had pulled up not too long after he passed away. I pulled up to his house, and his wife had his truck parked in the driveway. And when I pulled up, it was that exact same. I stopped, like the chills and everything had happened. Like I was in like that euphoric state for a split second. Like I couldn't register what was going on. And the first thing I could think of was just take a picture. And I took a picture of like that exact view of like what I had seen in that moment in purgatory. So it's pretty cool to capture that moment, like when I went to go visit her. And that was the same day that she told me that, you know, he didn't want to talk about that subject because he had felt how real it was.
Yeah. Thank you for the reiteration about the spiritual aspect about all this.
Yeah, that's
because
awesome.
I have been one for years to say that alcohol is a demon, and it's like I say that, and people are just like, "You're okay, kind of weird," but I'm like, man, you know, you look at the origins of thing like that. You look at spiritual practices, how they use it. You know what I mean? You look at the repercussions that it has for humanity. I can't think of any other way.
Well, I mean,
you know,
you don't have to exactly give things a name such as demons or angels. You know, you can also just think it as something as positive and negative.
Yep.
Positive and negative energies have to run through the
Yeah.
world. There has to be a balance, you know.
this is true. Very
And that's
true.
and what happens, you know, when we let those negative energies just consume us. That's when
Yes.
it's hard to get out, break loose from that negative energy. The negative energy is heavier than positive energy. I mean, that should be like proving how they got that little example. Oh, look at, he did 9 times all the way up to 9, and then he messed up 9 times 9, and the class laughed at him. You know, you got 9 right and you got 1 wrong. Like, that's the weight of negative energy.
Yes, it's
You
very
know,
true.
you can do so much good. You do one thing wrong, everybody's gonna be like, "Yo, look at how much he fucked up." And then you have to, you know, you have to do good tenfold to make up for what you've done in the past. And I think that's also another important reason why we all get to share this. You know, how much wrong did we do, and how much did we influence others? Like, yeah, dude, it's kind of our responsibility now to put ourselves out there and say, hey, we gotta put some positivity back in the world because we took so much.
Yeah.
We consumed a lot.
Very, very good point. Austin, what about your last drink or your last use, whatever you'd prefer?
Oh, drink, I have no idea as far as like literally alcohol is concerned. It had been maybe 10 years, maybe even longer. But the last use, I want to say I was in the IUN parking lot. I wanted to because I met some dude named Monty at a liquor store in Gary off Fifth Avenue because like my old connects were all gone. Those numbers expired, man.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go out to Stony and be doing that whole meandering around shit. I just didn't want to do that, so I just went to Gary and I had like a couple bottles I lifted and I was like trying to just resell them to somebody in the parking lot, and it just didn't work. And I think I was in the IUN parking lot, and it was one of the last times. And then I got caught at my house, and then that was it. My mom started throwing my shit out of the house. She's like, it's the first time they ever made that, like, you're out. You're
Yeah,
done.
right.
Like, you ain't living here. You're not coming back. It's over. Like, I just remember she told my dad, like, I don't care where he goes. It just will not be here, period.
Yep.
Versus before that, I did always have that cushion of, like, let's slide into the basement, you know, and, like, pretend like we're all good here. And but the last use was weird. It was against my own will. Like, it felt that way, at least. Like, I was at the point, because I'd had like 3 years where I was like in the program, active in my own bullshit version of recovery. I was totally full of shit. I was not clean during that time, but I genuinely kind of thought I was in a weird way. Like, I was going to meetings, I had service positions. It's wild to think that I was doing that, and I thought I deceived myself. Like, you know, there's no deceiving anyone else. It's just, what's the quality of the deception against myself? If I believe it enough, so will you.
Yeah.
And I believed it. I bought it. And so that use was weird because it like just escalated for like 2 weeks, where it went back to heroin, the drug of choice, and it was just sad. It lost its allure. It didn't give me that little boost I was looking for. I wasn't seeking it anymore. I think like maybe I'd filled enough of the emptiness that it was like, okay, something's not right, but I don't necessarily need to run anymore. And then that was like the hard line that my mom drew in the sand. Shout out Big Trish. This saved my life, man. I mean, it did. Like saying
Yeah.
like, because my dad is the best dude in the world, but he's like also like he sat like it sucks. It's a great thing, but like he always kind of wanted to believe I'd figure it out. And I mean, he's right, but like he was definitely a lot more compassionate and like wanted to give me the extra chances, all the shit, and you know that don't work at a certain point. And
Tough love.
yeah, it's not even tough love. It's just honest love. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like if I have to be bad to me to be good to you, then I'm not doing any good at all. And I think that my mom finally hit like I'm no longer going to be a hostage, because that's all people, you know, loved ones are in the sake of addiction. It's like you're a hostage. This is a hostage situation. And so the last use, was sad. And then I think I ate a couple Xanax in a bathroom on the way to the treatment center that I had squirreled away. But I will say I remember the surrender, which I think is important, that I pulled up to that place and the dude came out and I had that shit tucked away. You ain't going to find it. And I was going to get it inside. Trust me. And, I don't know what it was, man, but I just did what I had to do to present the item. And I gave it to the dude and I just looked at my dad and I said, you know, I'm done
Yeah.
and I'm sorry. And I just walked in and that was it. And I agree with what you said. Like it was for me lifted in a moment. Now that's something I must renew every day. To be very clear, if you're new, because that's saying it's just done and you
Yep.
just walk.
Yep.
Something that must be renewed every day. But I was given the card,
Yep.
and it was like I had it for that day.
Yep.
And God just, whatever it is, God, universe, whatever, strip, yanked it from me, gave me the idea for Never Alone Recovery and said, do this. And I said, all right, man. And then since then, it was like you said, I just listen. Like I'm just pointed and I just have to shut the fuck up and go do that thing.
Yep.
Go see that person. God just tells me, told me him. That's all I knew. So I just grab him and I keep him around until I kind of figure out what are we supposed to be doing here. And then that's it. It's a wrap.
Yep.
There you go. I feel like I like that because I'm also kind of like with my recovery. And originally I was just kind of like, I'm done. You know what I mean? Like you just
Yeah.
come. I feel like that's a big thing with recovery. Unfortunately, you have to come to like super duper rock bottom as far as like accidents, jail time and whatnot. I've been there, done that too. You know what I mean? But like, I feel like just sometimes you come to that point where you're just like, I'm exhausted,
Yeah.
and sick and tired of being fucking sick and tired, and unfortunately that is the sad, I feel like reality of drinking to excess, not knowing moderation. I don't feel like alcohol is good for anybody, period. But it's like not knowing how to be in moderation. Like that's the sad reality of it. Look at everybody on this panel. Like you're going to come to a point of just like absolute utter defeat or just like some bad shit. You don't want to be, you're like, oh, well,
Yeah.
well, that could have went a lot better. It's
Yeah.
just a matter of time. Brian, what about you?
My last use was February 9th, 2000, in a van on the way to treatment.
Mm.
The driver wouldn't stop at any gas stations because it's, against protocol,
Mm-hmm.
because people will use. So if he wasn't going to stop, I was going to use my substance right in front of him, whether he liked it. So that's what I did. Because anytime I've ever gone to treatment, I had to say goodbye, right? Like drugs were my best friend for the longest time. They kept me company when I was sad, angry, alone, whatever. They gave me the courage, all these things. And stepping away from that and knowing it was going to be the last time, I had to do it. And then now my life, like I said, it's just like they've shared about, it was just lifted. Like the desire to use drugs is gone.
Yep.
It's just gone. It never sounds like a good idea. It doesn't matter how much I'm struggling.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what is going on in my life. If somebody's passed away, it doesn't matter. Like using is not a good idea for
It's
me
not an
today.
option.
Right.
And that's a miracle,
Yeah.
right? Because I couldn't go 5 minutes without using drugs.
Right.
And I couldn't save one for tomorrow either. I've got to use it all today as fast as possible. And then, I didn't get to even enjoy the one I had in me because I was worried about the next.
Right.
So like that was my last use and super grateful. Like I'm free.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. What about you, Nikki?
And I gotta follow that buttery voice.
I know. It's like
That's
follow
so
up.
true.
Yeah, Jesus.
So
You
Yeah,
sound like
that-
grown men
that
after
worked.
talking.
it was more of a weekend. I had a little weekend fun bender. That wasn't actually fun. I just thought it was
Yeah, right.
and it had been getting to a bad point where like I was waking up like, okay, I need to sip on a White Claw to feel normal 1st. And then, so I had known like this was not going good, but I was trying to like, be like, just play it off, laugh it off. And the weekend was not great. In reality. And then I woke up and me and my husband had argued the night before. So, and that wasn't the first argument about like all of this stuff. So it's really, really cool to hear everybody say that because I didn't know that was a thing. I'd never heard anyone say that with the like just that moment of clarity because
Yeah.
I did get that and it did feel a little bit spiritual, like someone told me,
Yep.
like
Yeah.
just it's time to stop.
Yes, absolutely.
And yeah, it didn't make it easy. It was easy for the first 2 days because I felt like absolute garbage, like mentally, physically, everything. But then, you get back to feeling normal and then those feelings like I could be a normal drinker, but
Yep.
I just like knew I just had that clarity that I can't anymore. Like I can't be a normal drinker. And it's like, I got to do all or nothing. And it was just like very crystal clear at that time. So then the work began.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely myself have struggled with that. Like,
Yeah.
I could drink in moderation.
Yeah.
I could just have a beer. It's
Just a
fine.
little
Yeah,
bit.
and honestly, the last time I drank, it was like I was kind of tempted now, like, oh, I can kind of maybe do this in moderation, weddings or whatnot,
Yeah.
special occasions.
Mhm.
And then, man, the last time I drank, I got so fucking sick. And I was laying in bed. I had like just like the stomach flu or like the neurovirus or somewhere. It's just like I literally cannot stop puking. I remember laying in bed and be like, did I get cursed? Like, this doesn't feel right. And my grandpa's passed, and like my grandpa's my big old like guardian angel and shit. And I was just like, I bet you this is my grandpa. Like this man was 6'8" and he was a big motherfucker. But I was like, this feels like the hand of my goddamn grandpa coming down on my ass. Like I'm done, bro. I'm scared. You know what I'm saying? So that's it. Enough
Yeah.
for me.
Mhm.
But Amanda, what about you? I feel like you got some kind of fun
I have
story
some
to
fucked
tell.
up stories, man. I'm getting much more comfortable now because we're like getting deep. We're getting deep. So my last drink, which is gonna sound so pussy compared to you guys, but typical night at the bar with Amanda is 15 plus Bud Lights, about 5 to 10 shots. I lost count. When I drank, I would black the fuck out to the point where I would continuously drink and everyone would still buy me drinks and give me drinks because my mindset was when I was drunk, I was just myself. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And that was the scary part. And the day following, the last time I ever drank, I'm gonna be the first one to admit I'm California sober.
Yeah.
Okay, I do
Yeah.
smoke weed. I'm just gonna put that out there for everybody. Okay, cool. Me and my friend were on our way to the dispensary. We were like around the Lighthouse Mall, if anyone knows where that's at.
Mhm.
I said, you gotta pull over. I'm gonna fucking puke, dude. And I never puked when I drank. So I was like, this is kind of strange. So she pulls over. I'm like literally hanging out of her car, just throwing up everywhere. Mind you, she's already 2 years sober. So in my mind, I'm like, this is fucking embarrassing. Not only because like I'm still wasted and hungover, but she's sober, having to like watch her best friend fucking puke outside of her car.
Mm.
So I like got back in her car and we're driving and I start bawling, dude. And she's like, what's the matter? And I was like, that's fucking embarrassing. I was like, and like something like with like we're bouncing off each other. I feel like I had like this feeling where I'm just like, you know what? I'm done, dude. And the next day I woke up and I was just like, I didn't have a feeling to drink, to smoke a cigarette, nothing. It was just gone.
Mhm.
And I can't describe it better than that. It was just like this feeling in me that was just like, I can't do this to myself anymore. And, you know, as far as like the whole coma thing, like Lucas and I know each other, by the way.
Yeah.
It's just to make that clear. We've been friends for a long time. I remember when you got into your accident, actually. And I remember asking Chris if you were good and all of that. And I also went through that in a different way when my friend Mike passed away.
R.I.P. Mike. I
Yeah,
remember that.
IRP Mike. Like, that was my homie for real.
Yeah.
And that dude ended up in a fucking coma from overdosing on heroin. And I saw him right before and after they unplugged him. Excuse me if I get emotional. I'm not sorry. But that was the most fucked up thing I have ever seen in my life.
Yep.
And
Yep.
having to watch your friend lay there and know that they are already fucking gone, and then having to leave the room so they can do the whole family thing, and then coming back and seeing his face as white as that board.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a moment I will never forget. And I feel like that was another part in my life where I was kind of like, I need to fucking shape up, dude, or I'm
Yeah.
gonna fucking look like that.
Yep.
Yep.
And because it doesn't matter if it's a drug, it doesn't matter if it's alcohol, it doesn't matter what it is. I didn't want to end up like that.
Yep. Yep.
And you know, there's so many instances in my life where I mean, shit, my grandma passed away last year, you guys, and like, I'm so happy that I made the choice to be sober before that happened
Yep.
because I'd probably be wasted right now.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And I was the type of alcoholic that I didn't have to drink from the time I got up to the time I went to bed. But as soon as I started drinking, I did not stop until I was passed out or the alcohol was completely fucking gone.
See,
Mhm.
Okay. And it was bad. It was bad, you guys. So I'm happy to still fucking be here too.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
important.
Yeah.
Like to just like actually take a deep, hard hitting look at the people around you that are lost from this.
Yes.
and you're talking people that are around our own age. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I've lost several, and that was
Same.
truly not only that, but you hear stories about people like getting popped, drunk driving, like getting this, getting that, and
Yes.
it's like I take all that personally, where I'm like, I'm not one, oh, it'll never happen to me. I'm like, shit, that
Oh
happened
yes,
to
it
him.
will.
Like,
And
shit.
the wildest part of it all is like, thankfully, like I never had to deal with like a DUI or anything. Like, thank God. But I mean, still, like the times I could have, the times I woke up and I'm like, how the fuck did I get home?
Yes,
I
how do you
drove
drive
last
home?
night.
Yes.
Like, it's wild to me. And then, like, you know, just like I said, bouncing off what everyone else has said about the spirituality part of it, it gets way deeper than that.
Oh, we'll get into that.
We'll
girl.
get
Hold
into
on.
that.
Actually, we're gonna touch on that, and then we'll probably do like 2 more episodes on that shit after that.
Yeah. But that pretty much sums up my last drink.
There you go. All right, Miss Holly, what you got to say?
June 20th, 3:30 a.m.
Man, damn, everybody's on their
Let me
day.
tell you, I
Fuck.
remember the exact moment. Like I said, my daughter's birthday is June 19th. She's 19 now. And I remember the person gave me the option to go. And I remember telling my daughter, like, my birthday's July 15th. I'm going to go out with a big bang. I'm going to go right after my birthday, right? And my daughter, I remember her looking at me saying, I'm not important enough. You can't go tonight. And I remember telling her in my messed up
Hey, sometimes
mind,
you need that, man. You
but
know?
it didn't work, and it did, because in my messed up mind, I looked at her and I'm like, I'm the adult. I'm gonna do this when I want to do this, right? And then I sat there all night and I'm like, man,
Yeah, she planted that seed.
Yeah.
that's messed up, right? And I have 4 stepkids. She's my only birth daughter, and at that time, that's all I had. And she's seen great mom go down to the gutter, and I'm like, man, sorry, I'm gonna get emotional too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And,
what we're here for. It's real.
So I used, and I'm like, the person took me, it's actually my husband now, but he took me to a detox. And I was new. Like I said, my brothers were in and out of rehab and everything else. I knew nothing about it except from their experience. So I'm thinking to myself, let me use this one last time. Like, I know these people don't want to see it. I can't be around it. So I remember I was taking, I think it was Oxycontin at that time. And when I went, I was already detoxing because the process to get in was so long, you know, and I was used to using every 2 or 3 hours, and I'm nervous. I don't know what's going to happen. So I remember going up and them taking my blood, and they pull me back to the room, and he was like, listen, you have enough to like kill a horse in your system right now. And I'm like, I haven't used in like 10 hours. He looked at me and I'm like, I'm functioning. Like, I'm working a temp service, 2 or 3 jobs, you know, a day to provide, you know, for my habit, nothing else. I mean, I had to be real with myself. I wasn't doing anything for anybody except myself and my habit.
Yeah.
So that was the last time I used. And I remember thinking when I went upstairs to this detox, I went into, I think it's called Southwood Interventions in Inglewood. And I remember sitting in that hallway with all these people thinking I was better than them. Like thinking like, oh, I would never get that low. But I really did. I was like blocking that part of what happened, right? So I remember looking up at this picture, and it was God. And I didn't know who God was at that time. Like, oh, he's a guy upstairs, right? And I looked down and I'm like, look, I've tried everything else. I don't know what else to do. And I looked down and it was my last name. The painter was my last name. And I was like,
That's a sign.
That's a sign.
I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I haven't given you a try. And at that point, I still didn't know what I was doing. But, you know, back to the spiritual aspect, I tried everything else.
Yep.
So it was literally at that moment. I mean, I remember I had to go through a medical detox. So the methadone, I remember the first time they gave it to me, I remember going into the nurse's office and calling him and saying, hey, I thought I was coming here to get clean. I was rocked out of my mind. I mean, I was scrubbing the bathroom in the little dorm. I mean, I was rocked. And I was like, this isn't right. You know, in my mind, I'm like, this is all I had to do to get this high. Like, this is great. But I feel like that was the way to get me comfortable, to get me where I needed to be, because without that detoxing, I would have secluded. I would have been isolated. I met some great people. I seen some things I should do and shouldn't do while I was in there. And like I said, my daughter, like when I told her, she was living with her dad. I lost everything. I think I was clean maybe a year, and she asked if she can come live with me from her dad. I mean, it's been great ever since, but going back to the kid aspect, like I love and I hate that my daughter got to see all that, because it's going to help her and it's going to haunt her, both, you know, good and bad. And unfortunately, the haunt is going to help her more than the good part. You know?
Yeah. I mean, you know, she has a positive example of you as a mother, but then also I like that where I'm open and honest with my kid. as much as I can be, and everybody that I come in contact with about my sobriety, because first and foremost, I want my child to know what I've been through. I was raised up in a very like, nope, we are a Roman Catholic. You don't do that. You know what I mean? Like there was no ifs and but I had the fear of God, the fear of my grandparents. You know what I mean? Like in me, where I didn't even want to go about that direction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like it's great that she has a positive mother influence, but also somebody will be real about their their stories.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like every kid is gonna come across alcohol.
Yep.
Every kid's gonna come across weed. You know,
Yep.
every drug,
Yep.
this, that, and the other. And it's like, but if your mom or your daddy's like, hey, listen, little cat, I've been there, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like rehab, it ain't so pretty. You know,
You
you
know,
don't want to get there.
Yep.
That's perfectly acceptable in the right direction, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So now, since we have such an interest in God, I had a couple questions,
Amen.
but let's just jump straight to this one since we're getting kind of, we're taking up time here, and also I got a lot of fucking questions. But I want to, since this is so hard hitting, did you find God or spiritual enlightenment in this process? Because I will say that I started off with AA, and like I said before, like going into AA and the first step is admitting you are powerless over alcohol. Hell no, I don't like that. It's
Yep.
me, myself, and I. Like, who are you going to tell me a bottle's more powerful? But then to sit there and say to me, like, you know what, I've done some shit. I don't necessarily have control over this. Like, that's a huge step. But then what's the second step, right? I'm not sure. But, the big one is accepting of God, accepting
Acceptance
of
is
yeah.
the first one, yeah.
Accepting that you're powerless over
Yep.
alcohol, but then the acceptance of God or a higher power, that was
Yep.
such a difficult concept for
Yep.
me to grasp. Like
Yep.
in active alcoholism, like it's just you're in charge, like
Yep.
you're calling the shots. It's
Yep.
my fucking money, it's my
Yep.
fucking life, it's my fucking car. I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want. And then to sit there and like admit that there's something bigger than you out there is very hard.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've definitely reached my enlightenment, my spirituality. I tend to post nothing but positivity and try and affect people in the best way that I can. But me, before finding my sobriety, I was a mean motherfucker.
Yep.
You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? I was
Yep.
not a nice person. I was not
Yep.
a patient person. I didn't give two fucks.
Yep.
Same.
And now it's
Love
like setting down the booze, bro. That was like the best thing for me because it slowed me down and made me focus on like, hey, I'm not alone. There's life out here besides me and shit like that. So that is a big question of mine. Again, something that I want to lead farther into as far as you guys out there. If you have these more spiritual experiences, we're definitely going to expand into that. But it seems that is a general consensus. So I'd like to know more about that, and we'll start again with Lucas. As far as you already touched on your spiritual enlightenment,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
do
touched
you
on
have
it a
any
little
more to
bit.
say?
I mean, not too much. I mean, I kind of, like I said already.
Yeah, your
alluded to
story's
all that.
amazing.
Yeah.
I for a long time I did look up at the sky and I threw that middle finger up there and I was
Mhm.
like, hey man, I don't know what the fuck you think this is, but this ain't cool, and you wanna put the blame on a lot of others, especially that one upstairs, whether like I said you call him God or you're just you're the higher power of your understanding.
Yes.
I emphasize that a lot.
Yes.
I don't want anybody to think like it's just one and that's all it is. But the higher power of my understanding, and even though I went to where I was, I still don't give him a name,
Mhm.
but I know what it is in my heart. I know what it is to differentiate. So I mean, like I said, I touched on it enough. I think we could hear a couple other people. I mean, I cursed God for a long time, and now I say, can you give me some kind of insight? I'm
Yeah,
learning to
right.
speak to Him. Like I said, I don't want to say Him because that's not what I believe in, but it's like this, I think that's the easiest thing for people to relate to.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'll keep it in those terms. But it took me a long time to start asking. Took me a long time to start understanding when He was showing me, like guiding me. Because for a long time I had the veil over my eyes.
Yes.
So it was
yes.
very hard to understand how He was guiding me or how it was guiding me, whatever you want to say. But, as it was touched on already, these people, this podcast was presented to me and I reached out immediately.
Yeah.
Said, yeah, I got to go check this out. I got to touch, I got to spread that word. And like I said, I think it's on us. It's our responsibility after taking so much from the live stream, taking so much it's important for us to give back. So
Yes, absolutely.
I'll keep it short since I've talked a bunch.
Yes, and I think that, are we all comfortable saying God, or do we want to say higher power? I have the same opinion, whereas like I'll say God, but I believe it's a higher power, and all
Right.
mighty being, not necessarily gender specific.
Right.
So,
I mean,
but for all intents and
as long as we can
purposes,
all relate and have a
Yes.
common ground, you know, if
Yep.
you want to call it positive energy, you know, the positive energy and the negative energy,
Yep.
you
Yep.
know,
Yep.
if you want to call it that, if that's what you feel more comfortable with, you know, but as long as we can relate, as long as we can communicate, you know, because I mean, the biggest thing that I've seen here is just human interaction, and you know, you don't want to have something as silly as I call it a cat, but you call it a dog. Well, it's an animal, like you know what I mean? Like,
Yep, you are
you
completely
know,
right.
we got to find
Facts.
common ground somewhere.
Yes. Let's talk about our higher power. Austin, I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
Me too.
Speak to me, girl. Speak to me.
It's interesting because it's like similar to you. I always felt lucky since I was a little kid. I always felt some sort of like luck. I don't know how to explain it. Like I just kind of delusion, I guess. I just kind of assumed like it'll be all right, it's work out, whatever. So I all I could describe is like it's like a feeling. I felt luck, right? Like, and then when I got clean, I'll never forget it. The moment it was like fucking lightning. Like I'm not kidding. Like the idea to start what we started. I mean, it was do this. It was an instruction, and I then understood my assignment. I started talking to everybody there, and I was like, "Holy shit, I'm doing this." And then I started telling people it was happening as if it were, right. And it's like I do believe everyone has the ability to you can do anything, speak it into existence, man. And I
Manifestation.
did. And I demanded it from the world, and then I was willing to do the work to make it. And like, so then I'll never forget. So like, it kind of like it happened, right? And my grandma had just died. And so it was me and my buddy Nate that had just overdosed, like two fucking idiots, like 50 days clean in a basement wearing coats because there's no heat on, there's no internet. We had one mobile hotspot and a computer. And we're trying to figure out how to build a fucking website. I had no idea what we're doing. And
Typical men.
in that
real.
moment, you know, like, because my parents are calling, like, where are you? Where are you? And I was like, I'm at grandma's house. Technically, I'm entitled to 11% of this estate. I inherited 11%, right? So I rode that. Like, technically, I'm in there. You know, 11% of this homestead is mine. And it's like,
You got 11% too. No heat, no
I
internet.
had the balls, man, because, like, you know, for what my parents went through anyway. So, like, but we were actually, like, we were at work. There's no bullshit. Like, the mission was clear. Like, there's one objective is to progress. And then I'll never forget it. Kind of like it happened, right? And like it's like I noticed something for the first time, and I just followed it. And I was still going to meetings every day, talking to people, all that. And then there's one moment with my dog. Same thing. I was walking with my dog, and I won't repeat the words I said, but basically looked at the sky and I said, like, all right, motherfucker, like, what you got for me? Like, I'm like, all right. What the fuck's going on, man? What's up? It was a little aggressive. Like, what's up, man?
What's up, dude?
What's up, dude? We've been talking for a while. What's
You
going
wanna
on?
do
What are we
this?
gonna do about this?
Yeah.
Let
And-
me in.
Yeah, and that, dude, that was it. It's like I'm trying to recall it right now. It's like, not to get into the whole time thing, but I think it's all happening all the time, everywhere. We're just experiencing it in a linear fashion, and like, it was like in that moment, I just knew all of it. I knew exactly where I'd be, what I'd do. But also, it's still new. It's not like you have a roadmap with a plan, but along the way, it's just told me. Even when I met my wife, like it's psychotic. Like I knew her for like 20-something days, and I asked her to marry me because I just knew. I didn't necessarily know why. I didn't know if it'd be work out, you know. It's like, but like I just knew, like, all right, man. Like it's just you're getting assignment from on high, like telling you where you need to be, and just you have to show up. You don't necessarily know what you have to do in that moment. You just know it's this person in this place at this time. And I followed that without question most times. And it has led me to like, the greatest triumphs I've ever experienced in my life, the greatest challenges, which are also the greatest triumphs. Like, dude, shooting dope and being a degenerate is the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Like, again, not to do too much Carl Jung here, but that is the man. You know, he said that, you know, that I'm going to butcher it, but that the branches of a tree can only extend to the heights of heaven if they have first extended to the bowels of hell. You know, and I've always kind of subscribed to that. And I think it's always an inside out journey of like, I only see in you what I see in me. Like I can't see anything else. So if I am that, I'm going to see it. You spot it, you got it. And if I can't see it in you or I resent it in you, it's because I desperately want it, but don't believe I deserve it. And that we give ourselves, or I give myself exactly what I think I deserve in every moment. If if I'm in a dog shit relationship getting talked down to, it's because that's what I believe I deserve.
Yep.
And it's not
Yep.
necessarily my fault. It's like you get in the
Yep.
whole thing of like where addiction starts. Like, I don't know, the genetics load the gun and the environment pulls the trigger. I think
Yep.
it's
Yep.
just like
Absolutely.
probably right. But like with the God thing too, I never was raised with, I appreciate that my parents didn't really push any religion. I think it left me open in the perfect place at the perfect time to be me in the way I had to be. But like with my kids, every night I tell them like, you know, God loves me.
Yep.
Mhm.
I just repeat it. Like I don't really give a shit. I get it with the name. Like I don't. It's not like a big sexy beard God. Like it's because
Oh,
it's me too.
yeah.
As much as it's you
Yeah.
and you and you and you. Its energy exists. It just it is. And I'll say some shut up. But the first time I experienced God, and the only time I think I've truly experienced God, my second daughter, sweet little Smushy, when she
Aw.
came out, and you do they cut the cord or whatever, and the first time I got to hold her, and I put her temp, so like the most transparent part of us, right? At first it's top of the head, but this is the most receptive, neurologically speaking, part of our heads or bodies, and so I put like my forehead part right here to her, and dude, like exactly, I disappeared. It felt like minutes to me. I know it was only seconds. It was everything, but it was nothing. There was everything, but there was nothing. And I felt it, and it was fucking terrifying, but it was also the most peaceful thing I've ever experienced. But I'm terrified. It was like, just like when you see it in movies, they do a good job depicting of just like, and it just zooms out and they right back in it. And then it's like I'm shook and I'm holding this baby. And dude, I was spooked. I put her down and I was like, you guys, because they had to do some tests.
Check her out real quick, right?
It's like your turn.
And I feel, I love my wife. I feel bad. It was a C-section, so obviously they were still clearing up. I was like, yo, I'm out. I bounced. I got on the phone. I called my sponsor. I was like, dude, I don't know what the fuck just happened. Like, I was like crying, but I was ecstatic, but I was like confused. And like, it was just the wildest thing I've ever experienced. And like, they're definitely, that child is something special. But yeah, it's a cool thing, man. I think I don't know, fuck dogma and all the other bullshit. I think right now we're emerging into like a new existence of like, people are just kind of willing to talk about the themes and principles rather than like, well, this is my place on this road at this time. We wear these clothes and we believe only these things. It's like, motherfucking nobody knows, man. Come on. Like, you go back to like the Upanishads, like some of the oldest detected religious texts, man, and they tell you like a few key themes arrive and everywhere. It's like, non-dualism is present everywhere. Like, there's no good or bad. Heroin, you give it to me, I will destroy you. But you take a 97-year-old terminally ill cancer patient that is like her bones are rattling, and you give it to her, it's bliss. Right? It's not about the thing, it's my relationship to it. So it's like, I think the same is true for religion, and I think it's like it's a weapon I use when I'm in a bad, like in terrible
battle.
state, but it's also the greatest asset. I delusionally believe so much about myself. It's fucking delusion. I will accomplish whatever the fuck I want to do, and I'll do it. And it's like, I think there's something about that. Just, you got to believe it enough. What is it like? Intent becomes thought, and thought becomes word, and word becomes action, and action becomes momentum, and then it becomes belief. And my sponsor always says it's the 3-foot drop from your head to your heart, from knowing to belief. That happened for me, and I think that's like, sounds like what I'm hearing kind of across the board, which is really interesting to me, that it was a moment, because I don't know that many people that have said that same thing. It was like, yeah, I got clean, it came around, and I did it, and then, it's just what I do now. But I'm like hearing the same thing from everyone else. It's like, nope, it just happened to me.
Yep.
And it simply was.
Yeah, so quickly and like so profoundly that you're just like, oh, I'm a different person now. How
Yeah.
weird.
I am
you know?
yes.
And all because of that one thing that most people don't want to even believe in.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
what about Brian? Brian, I feel like
Different
also.
reality.
Can we talk really
Sure.
quick how Austin is giving me like serious like Gemini energy? Are you a Gemini?
No, dude. Fuck you.
Yeah, you're right on.
Come on.
What are you, a Leo?
Dude.
Oh, yeah. Oh, good. Well, good. Because
She's just taking
No.
shots in the dark.
only
Yeah.
be one.
Come on. Who knows the
Pisces?
truth? What?
We're all just guessing.
Sagittarius.
Who said it?
Ooh, he's
Yeah.
Oh, both my sons are
The
Libras.
great. Yeah. You can feel the
There you
sauce
go.
right
There
there.
you
That's my guy. Balance the
sauce.
scales, man.
What day?
The 20th. 10, 20, 90.
Ooh,
Ooh,
Amanda.
a nice birthday.
Nope. Huh?
Wait, we were
That's my
born
daughter's
within the
birthday.
same. Hell yeah. Me and him.
I'm a Cancer.
match.
I'm a
can you
Cancer
guys
as well.
get
Actually, I'm
together
just a
and like
believer
make
in God,
something of
but
your
by
lives and
side
then
they
like
say I'm
I
might
feel like we
ride
just
the
became
coattails?
best friends. I'm just gonna say it
July
right now.
15th.
Oh, I
Yeah.
know.
July
We're born
15th.
within that stream of each other. That's interesting, man.
July 3rd.
Oh, so you're the Cancer.
I'm the Cancer.
We're both can. Well,
Oh, all right.
Is
well,
that
now
good?
We'll go down the line really quick. Nikki, what are you?
Virgo here.
Ooh, a
Am I the
Virgo.
only neurotic?
Brian?
Sagittarius
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
win.
What about you, Lucas?
Aries.
Ooh, an Aries. Ooh, okay. Well,
Oh,
Shit.
I'm the only Leo. That's why I'm the host. Continuing on. Yeah.
I love it.
Brian, what are we talking about now? God.
higher power.
So I never struggled with the higher power thing. You know, it was obvious that there was a higher power because he'd saved me from all the
Amen.
instances and events in my
Yeah,
life,
really.
from
Yep.
childhood through active addiction.
Yep.
I would say I struggled seeing it for the long time. You know, I thought I was tough. I thought I was this guy that was just out here making stuff happen, right? But like once I got clean, I could see clearly, right? I could see the things that my higher power was doing for me. Like I appreciated, and it kept me grateful.
Mm.
And it, you know, I think in recovery, a lot of people talk about the pink cloud, right? Like pink cloud's going to bust soon. And I disagree. Like the pink cloud is gratitude. And I can keep that pink cloud as long as I want, as long as I do the effort to keep it, as long as I do the next right thing, right?
Yeah.
You know, I hang on to it because momentum's not like this magical force that propels itself forward. You know, I've got to do the work to keep it.
Yes.
So that's what I do. And I do that like synchronicity.
Mm-hmm.
Him and I talk about it all the time. But like I see these things in my life and I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Yes, I know exactly what you were talking about.
It's
Thank
been
you.
happening my entire life. I just couldn't see it because I was clouded. And I was clouded by the use of drugs or pain or chaos that my life was.
Yeah.
And like removing that, like I wish we could play that song. I can see clearly now. You know what I mean?
And
He sings too.
What the hell?
Wow.
That
Marvin
was-
Gaye, he's really coming free
That
now.
buttery Marvin Gaye.
That was my experience. And,
Yeah.
you know, I hang on to it tight today.
That's awesome. And gratitude is a huge part of it. So many people are not grateful for the things that they
Oh,
have. So many
yep.
people just want more. I used to be like that where it was like, oh, I got to have the Michael Kors, the Coach. And it's just like, no, I'm like, what up, Goodwill?
Yep.
I found some.
Rocking some Walmart, looking good.
I got some Kermit leggings the other day. You saw them Kermit leggings. I was looking cute, girl. You know what I mean?
A,
It's just
a
gratitude.
smile's the best part of an outfit.
Yeah.
This is true. This
Damn.
is true.
Dropping it loud.
Damn, he's dropping
Marvin
fucking
Gaye,
gems.
right?
I'm gonna have to
feel like-
move over. I'm getting fired.
Speaks like butter, moves like butter.
Damn. Brian's moving in.
Can we talk about that he's playing with a transformer? I love it.
You're not supposed to touch those. They're my special transformers.
I thought he brought those as a prop.
All
I'm like,
me.
yes, he brought his dad.
Yeah, I did.
There you go.
They came with the shirt.
Yes.
You know, I'm so glad that your dad is there because mine went out 30 years ago for cigarettes and never came back.
Yeah, mine went out for milk and never
Yeah,
brought the milk
right,
back or the
right.
change.
Missing.
Damn,
Missing person.
I got my daddy right here.
All right. All right. What about you,
Fox.
Nikki? Do you have an Optimus Prime that you like to, hold accountable or hold you
No.
accountable, I should say?
I don't know. I don't think that it was as spiritual for me as maybe for some of you, but like a lot of the words or phrases that you guys were saying were like resonating with the clarity and just like the perspective and the gratitude. Like I was always a pretty grateful, positive person. But it just, I think the perspective, when it just like dawned on me that like, you can't do this anymore, or you can't keep trying to fool yourself into being something you're not. And it was more of like a clarity of like, that's okay. And just a shift in the way I thought about like being sober. I was always like, that's so fucking lame. Like I could never.
Yeah, truly.
And like being the crazy party person was like a big part of my identity. So
Right.
I'd be like, how are people sober? I could never go to a wedding sober.
Yeah.
And then And then like it was just more clear that like you can be still like the best parts of yourself and even better and not have to have that like substance with you. So it was just like a lot of things were like reaffirmed that maybe had been like in the back of my mind, but not as like spiritual though. I don't think for me.
So we're taking you to church on Sunday,
You
right?
are.
Yes.
Amen.
I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, I'm gonna get her number. We're going to church on Sunday.
True talk. If you can point me in the direction of a church where I can dance in the aisles and have a nice time, I'm
Oh,
down for that.
right?
shit.
I do the apostolic stomp every Sunday.
I want to go to church
Down.
and do the Cupid shuffle. That's what I want to do.
Hey, we accept that. As long as you're praising God, you can
Count
do whatever
me
you need to.
in.
I mean, I don't know about twerking, but hey,
I didn't say
If
all
that's
that.
what you
I said
do.
Cupid shuffle. I'm talking to the left, to the left.
If you find me a twerking church, I will go.
Oh, well, same.
if you're in your own house, if that's the way you praise God, by all means.
Austin, are you gonna found the twerking church? That seems like something else.
I've always wanted a church. I'm not going to lie to you. The tax benefits are unparalleled.
but the twerking church.
Twerking
mean,
church sounds like a website.
That sounds
I
kind
feel
of.
like
man.
that's a place we should have chicken, like the twerking chicken. I'm
I
done
mean, if
talking.
people come,
Twerking chicken.
She said I'm done
Twerking
talking.
chicken.
She's like, I'm gonna stop now.
I'm done.
They got jerkin, twerking, chicken.
Thank you. That is where
Wait,
I'm
you gotta
trying
add
to go.
church at the
Yes.
end.
Stay tuned for our new cult. Anyway, moving on to Amanda.
love a good culture.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid, Amanda.
Fucking Lucas. I can't.
Twerking church.
So growing up, I didn't really grow up in like a religious household. We went to church on Easter and Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
It was one of those. And growing up, like I helped teach Vacation Bible School. You know, it was in the church a little bit. But I never really was taught like God's word or like anything like that people try to instill in you as far as like a spiritual guidance. And I remember being a little kid and my grandma telling me that the pastor's wife said, "There's something special about that little Amanda." And I still remember that to this day. And I remember working at Walgreens years later and she walked in. And I was like, "Do you remember me?" And I had to remind her, obviously, because it's been like 20 years. And she's like, "Absolutely, yes." And it was just like that right there, along with like, I have like that witchy intuition. Like the night my great grandmother died, my mom was on a date and I like woke up suddenly and I looked out my bedroom window and my uncle was walking towards my window to tell us. And it's like that type of shit has happened my entire life. So leading into like my sobriety, as far as like the spiritual part of it, it's like I just feel like something just happened or appeared where it was just like, hey, this is a fucking enough. You really need to get your shit together. And I can't describe it more than that. It's like everybody has already kind of touched on that. And I feel like it's a part of my story as well. But it's just that breaking point, I guess you can say. And you see it and you're like, I gotta run with this. And if I don't do it now, I'm never gonna do it type shit. So that's my little story about spiritual guidance. I feel like there's a lot more to it and I could delve way further.
Yes,
but
absolutely. I feel like getting off the hooch is the best,
Yeah.
the best bet to like be able to see those synchronicities and everything. Because I'm all about that fucking life all day
Yeah.
long, every day. I'm like, what's that? A 222 on the microwave?
well,
All right.
right, same. Like, but that's the thing is like when my grandma passed away, that's the perfect example. I felt it.
Yeah, right.
I was in the fucking shower, and as soon as I got out of the shower, my mom's like, "She's gone." I'm like, "I know."
Mm-hmm.
Just that moment, I felt it.
Yeah.
And it's been like that with death my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I have this connection with like the other side, or however you want to describe it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like I can always just be like, "Yep, there it is," and I've always been right. I've never been wrong not once. Moving along.
That's a lofty
Okay.
statement there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I'm gonna keep this short because this is like my area.
Only
of
with
expertise.
spiritual stuff. I'm not a know-it-all. Let's just be clear.
You're more than welcome to come back for my spooky episodes.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of the podcast After Dark. We're talking about this shit.
Yeah.
I live
So
for this shit.
my mom grew up Catholic. My grandma was like the old lady with like the huge Bible. That's all she did until she couldn't move the page, and so she read the same page for
You got your
20
whole
years.
family tree in that motherfucker.
Yeah, and then it was like, oh, you did something wrong, say this prayer, whatever it was. I never followed the Catholic religion. Not bad talking, or it wasn't, I was never taught it. So growing up, all of the messed up things that happened to me. I remember going to church as a mom, as a wife. My husband brought me to a church, and I sat there like, yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I knew there was something up there, but I didn't know what it was. I knew that something had saved me all this time, because if it definitely wasn't me, I'd have been dead and people would have killed me and everything else. And I remember writing a note to the pastor saying, what kind of God would allow a little girl to go through this? And the pastor didn't give me an answer. And so that even gave me a more bad taste for church. We ended up finding another church that was able to show me in God's own word the answer, which to me is final. Like you said, we each believe what we believe. But I know in my heart who God and Jesus is, and he saved me so many times. And so I started like, okay, let me give this church thing a little try, right? So we went to a little church, which was, I liked it. We got married there, but it was very quiet. I'm not a quiet person. I'm
Same.
super loud. Like, I used to think I was only like that because I was on drugs. That's a lie.
Yes.
My family's like, does she ever shut up? Does she ever go to sleep? No. The
Get your
answer's
sleep,
no.
girl, and stay hydrated. What's
Yeah.
wrong with you? It's
Red Bull.
2025.
Red Bull.
Coffee all day.
I
Fine,
not
fine.
want to talk. I live off a Diet Coke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, and then I remember the point, just different experiences, but it was 2021, and I was like, okay, look, I keep saying I believe in this, but like, do I really believe it? Like, if I do, then I'm gonna give to. I'm just gonna let go. And at that moment, when I decided to give all that trauma and all those problems to somebody that I couldn't see,
Mm-hmm.
it was like, you have no other option. If you do it,
Yeah.
you do it because you believe in it. If you don't believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
And at that moment, it was like every trauma, and it didn't happen instantly, and it's still going on, but it was like every trauma that would come up where I would usually use, I'd be like, look, I'm going to get on my knees and give this to you, and hopefully you take it. And sometimes it's taken right away, and sometimes it's not. It's probably not taken because I don't give it all. But so I'm an addict at heart, so Jesus is probably my addict, my drug now, and that's okay because it's healthy.
Yeah.
But I go to a great church here in Maryville, CRC, and it's filled with people just like us, at different walks of life. You know, that it's great. Like you said, I never had friends that were sober that could still like. People see us in a bowling alley and they're like, "Oh, they're drunk." No, we're completely sober. Like this is just who we are. So that's why I said I'm gonna be short on this subject because this is my favorite subject. But my spiritual guidance, like I said, is Jesus. I was baptized in 2023. I got the Holy Ghost, and ever since then, I just give it all. Like
Yep.
I have no other option. Like
Yeah.
I have no other option. And like you said, like if each person gives, the God of who they know a different name, that's fine. But for me and my family, it's God and Jesus. And the only way to God is through Jesus.
Right.
And like I said, it's my new drug. I'm okay with that. This is one that I can get on the ride with and know that, whatever it is like he said, it's already mapped out. Like I'm just here for the ride. I just go where I'm supposed to, when I'm supposed to, and know that whatever it is, it's supposed to happen. I have a saying, I think it was John Lennon that said, "You're nowhere that you're not supposed to be."
Yes.
Facts.
And that's your whole life from birth, to whenever. It's all your story. You have a choice. So
Isn't it funny how we're all just so motivated just to come here today? I wonder
Yeah.
what's gonna come of this.
Yeah.
It's a big, big thing that we're doing here. And I don't care what your God is first and foremost, as long as it's a God of light, understanding,
Yep.
love.
Yep.
I think back to John Lennon, back to the Beatles, huge Beatles fan. You were saying earlier, I am, he is, you are, we, and we're all one together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So all
Like,
are one.
that love is the ultimate.
It's the answer.
Like, no matter what you do, and I'm a hairstylist barber, so it's like I know plenty of us out there that are like, what the fuck do you want? Like,
Yeah.
shut up, I'm gonna do what you want. But me, like every person that comes to me personally, like I love that person,
Yep.
and I treat them with the same respect that I would want my son treated.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That was a big thing with me. My son has special needs, so I was a mean motherfucker, and then I
Right.
was like, if I keep being a mean motherfucker, somebody's gonna be mean motherfucker to this kid. I'm gonna knock somebody out. So I'm like, let me just put out love
Yep.
first and foremost, because I hope that someday that comes back to my child, and it has. So whatever your God is, I don't really give a fuck. Just be good.
Yep.
You know, I think that's a
Love
general
is the answer to everything.
exactly. And I had like an Austin kind of experience where I was just like, let's go, bro. Like
Yep.
what? I ain't got nothing else. This
Nothing
is rock
to lose.
bottom. I tried everything else to
Yep.
negotiate my way out of this shit. Like, all right, you're so almighty and powerful. Let's see what you can do, motherfucker. And well, here we are.
Yep.
So we're
Bam.
how many years of sobriety we got between all
Yeah.
of us? Like that is incredible. And you don't even see what's sitting behind the screen. The years of sobriety back there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All you people
Oh,
in
yeah.
viewer land.
Can I touch on something real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, I make it clear because you've seen me do this a couple times. You know, when we talk about the deceased. I was raised Catholic, so like, I was baptized. I was brought up that way, but you know, through life, I separated and got askew, whatever. But a couple things I did want to make mention of. You know, God says, "Those help those who help themselves."
Yep.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
something I heard earlier this week. There's always an open hand at the end of your own arm. You know. And once again, God helps those who help themselves. You have to be the one to take that first step, that first push. And yeah, granted, we all were like, oh, it's a moment of clarity. But what did we do with that moment of clarity?
Mm-hmm.
We acted upon it, you know? So, I mean, I just want to touch bases on that and give everybody kudos here for...
Hell yeah.
Yes. Continuing this every single day, choosing this every single day. That's a big lesson for everybody, I feel, is having to choose. You make these choices, you know, and so many people are just like, oh, this happened to me and it's this person's fault and that person's fault. No,
take
no,
responsibility.
exactly.
Take
It's your choice.
responsibility.
Yep.
And to choose sobriety every day and choose love every single day is a whole entire purpose. So with this, I'm going to start wrapping up here because we're getting at 2 hours. I want to know, what are you most proud of in your sobriety? I know, like I've touched on, I was not a nice person. I mean, I have, like all of us, stories that just like, now that I can reflect on them, make me sick to my stomach.
Oh.
You know, just thank you to my friends and my family and everybody who is just like, stood by me and seen me do and say these terrible things and still just be like, I love you. You know,
Yeah.
that's a real miracle right there every
Yep.
single day. So in my sobriety, I am proud of being able to do this, like get you guys all together, share our stories, be able to continue to do this going forward. But not only that, first and foremost, my parenting, like, my active drinking, like my kid would just like kind of hang out in a room while I
Yep.
got a bottle and shit. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I feel bad about that shit every single day in my life. And where now it's like every single interaction with my son, I try and be as patient and understanding and loving as possible because I ain't trying to make this motherfucker go through the shit that I did.
Right.
So that is first and foremost. I've also put myself through barber school, accomplished a lot in my sobriety. And first and foremost, second of all, after my kid, been a light, you know?
Yes.
And so I think that's the lesson here. What I'm most proud of, Mr. Lucas, what are you most proud of?
Well, I mean, there's a couple things I could say. The two things. One, I'm proud of the change that I've made and the continuous change that I've made. Not for me, mainly for my family. I have 4 kids. I have 1 on the way.
Congratulations.
Thank you. The 2 older ones, they got to see the shit side of me. They got to see the ass side of me. That, like, everything that I didn't want them to like see or be a part of, like I presented to them. And that's something that like I held on. So if they do want to listen to this, I do want to take a moment to say I'm sorry for the parent that I wasn't, because I always promised myself that I would be a better parent, you know, to my children than what I had, and I did let you guys down. So I want that to be stated, because I know that both of them have a hard time even speaking to me, like, because they're going through their teenage years. It's hard for them to even, you know, comprehend that the world is expanding. They hold a lot of resentment towards me. I know they do. And it's hard for me to even say sorry to them because they don't want to hear me at the moment.
Yep.
You know? So I do want to apologize to them. But on the flip side of that, I am proud of the parent that I am now to the other 2, the ones that they see, you know? And I'm trying to extend that parenthood onto the older ones, you know, whenever they decide to be open and take that in. And, you know, but seeing who I am now and seeing the way that my younger ones move, you know, I'm so happy that I was given the opportunity to be there for them, because, you know, one was 6 months, the other one was 4 years old when I was in the accident. You know, they could have grew up without me. They could have grew up without a father. You know, they'd have been looking for Optimus Prime to tell them what to do too. You know, and that's what I don't want for them. You know, I want them to be able to come to me and say, "Hey, I got these things going on. What do you know?" I want to be able to share my experiences, because the whole point, I think, of being a parent is to give them what you didn't have, to give them the leg up a step forward.
Yep.
You know, I say it is what it is. I didn't have a parent in my life. I had a friend. My mom was my best friend. You know, she's still a damn good friend. You know, but I didn't have a parent.
Yep.
So it's like I let down the older two. I'm trying to make up for it with the younger two, the third coming in. So not only am I proud of that, I am, of course, also proud of how far I've had to push myself to be that better example. You know, with my sobriety, you know, not having any falters during these past 4 years, learning how to pick myself up. I mean, the 14-year-old, he was, you know, 11 at the time. He was pushing me around in a wheelchair. You know what I mean? Like, he was there for me. He was there helping me out, helping me with the therapy, the rehab, and you know. So it's I wanna continue pushing myself forward and getting stronger than I ever was prior to the accident. Even I want to show them that you can be proud of yourself even after you've gone through so much.
Yep.
You know, because they
absolutely.
think that, you know, their little high school drama is bad. Like,
Yeah.
shit, wait till you get your fucking 20s, kids. Like,
Yeah,
y'all
your
are-
30s, bro.
Buckle up,
I got bills to
dude,
pay,
I'm
motherfucker.
saying,
Shit.
like, but I'm proud that I'm you know, that person now, that I am, that I can be there, you know, hopefully be that beacon for them, you know, give them that understanding if they have questions, you know, let them know that I don't have the same thought process that I had before. You know, it's possible to change. I know that when you're a teenager, I remember vividly being a young kid, a teenager, like, you know, I remember so vividly what that was like and how confusing everything was. Like, I don't know. I just want the best for the kids, for
Yeah.
sure. And
Yeah.
in doing so, making myself as strong as I can be mentally and physically. So that's what I'm most proud of.
Hell yeah.
Thank you.
No, you are
I-
Optimus Prime.
Yes, yes.
Heck is Prime. Find me on YouTube.
That is a huge lesson, though, man. Pushing like the kids, like that is the whole point. All of us have experiences from childhood. It's just be better for your kids, and thank you for that. I'm proud of you, buddy.
Thank you.
Mhm.
You're
Hell yeah.
welcome, Mr. Austin. What are you most proud of? You want to whore yourself out a little bit, like throw out, you know, what you do, who you are.
Yeah, throw it out
No,
there.
no, that's all right. I was just giving you the spotlight.
I should do it.
You
That's
should,
what
you
you
should,
should
you
do,
should.
but I just don't like it.
Oh, we'll let
So,
Brian do it, so.
Come on. Come on.
I'm most proud that I made the hard choice when nobody was watching. Like the things that I could have done or in ways I could have changed that I didn't. I could have a few times. I'll never forget it. Like maybe a year or two into Never Alone Recovery, I got a call from Goldman Sachs. And I was like, what the fuck? And they're like, they offered me $750,000.
whoa.
Dude,
Whoa.
it wasn't like worth money. Like, I gotta be very clear. It's like revenue is not like that. But they were buying up call centers because obviously the treatment industry has turned into like a piece of shit, and they're just trying to buy up brands. So we've done a lot of work with the police, with the homeless shelter. So we had like a very good reputation. They're trying to buy the reputation.
So-
And you got to think, I was 26, single at the time, and living in like, dude, almost $1 million. Come on.
Yeah.
And I told the guy to get fucked. And I'm very proud of that decision because it would have become just something bad. It's not good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You didn't feel it.
Yeah, dude, fuck you. I'll let it burn before I give it away.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that right now. I'll burn it all before it goes in the hands of somebody that'll take it.
Destroy it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or that'll become the way I
Bastardize it.
used to be. Everything was an angle. Everyone was someone to manipulate. I just didn't act human. I didn't have using friends. I didn't have that. It just didn't matter. I was inhuman. And there's a life in everything I try to do, and I'm most proud that I've nurtured the light even when nobody would have known or nobody was watching, that like the way I've represented myself, it's truthful. It's how I live.
Mhm.
Even if nobody's watching. And I've been, there's plenty of times where you're tempted or you want to change. Dude, like with the nonprofit shit, you know how many times I wanted to quit? You know how many times I've been fucking sick of it?
Now you
Like-
got me interested.
So basically,
Same.
we're like end-to-end
intrigued.
solutions for families. So like one of my biggest grievances was like when I went to treatment, no one talked to my parents. Nobody gave a shit. Nobody did anything to help them. But addiction is dynamic and progressive and affects entire family systems, right?
Yes.
So it's kind of like if I take a glob of cells, right? And there's 50 cells and they're cancerous, and I remove one cell and I heal it, and then I place it back into the cancerous mass, what do you think is going to happen? Right? It's like when you put out fresh
No
fruit
bueno.
next to rotten fruit, what happens?
Yep.
Rots quicker.
Mhm.
So the idea is that like you have to assist the system in healing or you're not really doing anything. You're kind of just using, people have become a commodity. And so my goal was to like actually treat the system as best we could. And it's been the coolest thing, but it's also hell on earth because like I'm not a play in the sandbox kind of guy.
Mhm.
And as you can tell, like I don't test well in that demo of like working within bureaucratic agencies that are just Ponzi fucking schemes.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said that like at like these board meetings, I've never shut the fuck up. So at some of the like large organizations in the area. So like we've never gotten grant funding. And it's just been a struggle. But so anyway, so like we basically just aim to be the one piece that connects you to everything. Like whether you need to go to a shelter right now, will we like find a way to cover your travel to Sober Living of America in Georgia, where they'll get you set up with a job, they'll do job placement, they'll even get you a damn suit, man.
That's so amazing.
That's
And-
so important because I feel like you get to the rehab and so many places it's like they get the government funding for you and then they
Grind
push
up
you
and
out right in the
spit-
streets.
Yeah, man, they don't give a
Yeah.
shit.
And it's like
Yep.
they don't realize some people, like just per se, my brother, he's been in the system since he was 10. You're not giving him any resources. And I'm not saying, I mean, it's all in his control, you know, to a point. But I think that's so important because they just push you back out. As soon as they get that money, it's like, oh, I
There's
got what
a-
I wanted by.
They know exactly.
They don't care about who you are as a person.
No.
Yeah.
And it's not set up to be successful, nor for you to be a person. That's kind of the point. So, like, my
Yeah.
goal is always to do it. Like, I want to fucking break it.
Yep.
Like, I want to break
Yeah.
shit. That's all I want to do. And we just always decided from the beginning, like, we're not going to charge people anything. We're going to always offer it for free. And we're going to do our best to be impartial. So, like, it basically, I'll just tell you the story. It started, I was like totally full of shit. I had no basis. Somebody got a call from this treatment center. And they're like, yeah, you know, we love what you're, like, the guy sounded genuine, honestly. He was like, I really love what you're doing. You could tell he had been like a step work guy. Like, he actually worked the program. You could just
Yeah.
kind of tell. So I was like, all right, yep, go ahead and fly me out. I'll audit the facility and we'll see if you make the list. Dude, I made that shit up. I made that shit up. That motherfucker bought me a plane ticket.
Holy
I had to
shit.
get a clipboard at like a Walgreens on the way. I had nothing on it. I was just like pretending to figure out what to write. But then I was like, okay, you got to actually do this now. You're like in it. And so like I met with the clinical lead and I would just ask him, kind of evaluate, like, what do you believe?
Yeah.
How do you believe this is going to go?
Yeah.
Like, what introduction do you have to the family? And I think the first one, I got lucky. Like, they're genuinely great people that we worked with for a number of years
Yeah.
who genuinely went out of their way. Because at the end of the day, look, it's a business. I get it. You got to make enough money, but like there's a line
Yep.
you cannot cross. There's a balance you can maintain that gives everybody what they want. Like my goal is always find the win-win. There's no reason you have to lose and I win. That doesn't have to be that way. It's just if I'm a greedy piece of shit, then you have to lose.
Yeah.
But if I'm sensible and reasonable and I find that middle ground, it works. So anyway, I did that and it worked. And so I was like, all right, so here's the next step. Like, you got to provide me with all this information. And now we'll manage the digital marketing for your business, blah, blah, blah. So, like, basically, we took over their website, social medias, everything else. And we're golden. And, like, some of the big things for me was, like, you know, like, you're going to get 30, 40 grand. Accept that. You're not going to go to collections and do all this bullshit. You're going to make 30 grand, dude. Be good with that.
Yeah.
And so we kind of just started advocating on behalf of the clients. And it just kind of it worked. Like, hey, they just listened. So
Because you were
it's-
doing something
just
good.
trying
That's
to beat
so
the shit out of
awesome.
them.
Yeah.
And then it kind of just expanded from there. And we've helped over 1,000 families at this point without charging $1 to do it, which is cool. And the
That's
big thing is
awesome.
always like to not be like them, like because there's a dichotomy in the like industry of help. Period. It's like you either have great commercial insurance and you're an extremely valuable customer,
Yeah.
or you don't have it and you ain't worth shit.
Yep.
And my goal, and like this is, I've literally fired people for this. If you talk in any different tone, if you act in any different way, if the words are even, they smell weirder,
Yep.
I will fucking cut you.
Yeah.
Like you'll never allow anyone to feel different than the last. I don't give a shit.
Yep.
And you have to go to the greatest steps you can to help them. And like, I'm very proud of that. I'll be honest. Like our ability to do what we do, whether you have no insurance, Medicaid, or like you have nothing, is no one does it. No one in this country does it or will do it. It costs a bunch of money. That part sucks, but it is what it is. So if we want to donate, shout out, feel free. neveralonerecovery.com/foundation. We're trying to expand the human trafficking issue. We got a lot we want to do. We need some bread to do it, man. So I'll just say this and shut up.
Hey, he has the butter.
I'm also proud that for the nonprofit, no salaries ever. 100% of funds go to actually helping people. Fuck the salaries. I'm good at business. I know that. So my other business, it makes money. It makes pretty decent money. I love making money there. It's a stock market. I don't have to give a shit about anything. It's just buy and sell value. It's easy. When it comes to this, it can't be about money because it's people, and it rob. I don't know. There's something about it. So anyway, that's what we've been trying to do. Is I'll give this guy a shout out. Unbelievable job raising some money. So give him a cheers. And shout out Noah and Peter. They just donated 10 grand, dude. These two
Hell yeah.
guys I
Ooh,
met,
golf
just
clap,
wonderful
golf clap.
human beings. And the last thing I'll say, and shut up. If anybody's into crypto, check out Sad Boy, SAADBOI. Project we started in crypto. The whole goal is to basically bring awareness to like mental health resources and pair with the nonprofit. Through it, it's unbelievable. We brought in all these like crypto degenerates that actually give a shit, and it's like become a new medium to actually reach people. And it's like, it's not a fundraising tool, but kind of like a fundraising tool. You know what I mean? Like it kind of is, right? And it's like a little unregulated, is what it is. But
Not unregulated anymore.
dude, this project has been like the coolest thing. It was the happiest accident. Everyone will relate to the sad boy himself. I promise. We've already helped at least one person get a treatment with funds from that. The goal is to, I mean, at this point now, is today there's conversation about the community wanting to help fund sober living, which would be like amazing, dude. Like
awesome.
imagine
Yeah.
no cost,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like small scale, no cost with counseling service. That was brought up today. So it's been really cool, man. And yeah, I don't know. I do the best I can most of the time. I think we're always doing the best we can
Yeah.
in the moment with what
Yeah.
we have, but sometimes it's not good enough, and that is what it is. But I've done the best I can, and I think I've been okay living with the moments in which I was not doing enough, and it is what it is.
Gotta
And so-
forgive yourself. That's a very important.
Yeah, that's the biggest
Yeah, it
one.
is.
Too. That's something I've been focusing a lot is forgiveness, and we'll pass it on to Brian. Brian, well, that's you tell us about what were we talking about?
What's most important?
What are we most proud of?
What are you most proud of, Brian?
Yes, Brian. I'm so sorry.
I would say helping people, right? Because addiction, selfish, right? It's all about me, what I can get, the angle I can shoot, what I can take from you. I'm going to take your stuff, whatever it may be. Like today, I helped rebuild the same communities that I helped destroy for so long. And like what that does inside of it's like crazy. But I'm so grateful to have that experience and make a difference today. And then I would say, secondly, I would say repairing all the relationships with my family, because
Yeah.
those were things that I never thought I would get back. I have great relationships with everyone. Who would have thought? Brian gets clean and life gets good.
Yeah.
I wish I would have done it a long time ago.
Yeah. But you got to go through what you got to go through to be
Yep.
where you are today, man. I truly believe that all that bullshit you had to go through, that made you exactly who you are.
Yep.
It is exactly the person who's sitting here, right now for a reason.
It
Yeah.
took what it took.
The crucible, baby.
That's why I hang on to that gratitude so strong, right? That's why I have
Absolutely.
it,
Yeah.
because it was so bad for so long.
Yeah. See
I
the
was
light.
always told a grateful addict will not use.
Very, very wise words from the man of the hour, stealing all my spotlight. Who allowed him here? This is all Nico's fault. He's the one who reached out first. All right, Miss Nikki, what are you most proud of?
It's hard. I don't know. I've been thinking about it. It's hard to nail it down, I think, because it is kind of newer for me.
What about going out of your comfort zone to be here right now?
I think that's kind of what I was thinking of is just I've been a lot more vulnerable and taken a lot more chances and just like I thought I did that before, but I didn't. And like now I am. So I'm proud of that and just being able to like wake up every morning proud of myself, just not have to be like, what did I do or what did I say, or just have that like nagging feeling in the back of that you're not doing what you should be doing.
Yeah,
And
you're
just
proud
so
you're
just
not
like
fucking up.
yeah,
Yeah,
just
that's
living
huge.
my
That's
truth,
huge.
being my word of the year is authenticity, because
There
I
you
just
go.
want to
There you go.
live authentic and be proud of that. I felt like a lot of the drinking was because I was secretly like had a low self-worth. So
Mhm.
just being able to like repair that. And then being someone that I feel like my kids can be proud of, not for like accomplishments like going to college and jobs or money or whatever, but just like being able to lay with them at night and not be buzzed and just have that like authentic connection with them, and knowing that I wouldn't have been doing that before. So things like that. I think the little things.
Yeah, the
proud
little
of
things.
the most.
Absolutely. And that goes back to gratitude. You know, it's like when you're drinking, you don't really have time to stop and look at a bug. I look at every motherfucking bug I cross. Lizards, anything. Because I'm like, look at it. It's so beautiful.
Yep.
And I never even saw this great blade of grass before this shit.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Very true. You should be proud of that. Just the
Yeah.
little moments in life and being present for your kids. As, again, we're going to reiterate, you know what I mean? I think that's one of the most valuable lessons here.
Just being present in life.
Yeah.
Good for you. Proud of you. What about you, Amanda?
A lot of things, honestly. And obviously, like, everybody views things in different ways as far as like how big or small or how thankful or grateful you are for whatever it is. But I don't know if a lot of people in my life know this, but a lot of people don't. I gave my child up for adoption 13 years ago. And the fact that I am sober now, and when that child does turn 18 in 5 years, I'm going to be fucking sober.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
When my grandma passed last year, I already touched on this, but my grandma was my best friend. Like, she was my A1. I hate to say it like this, but if I murdered someone, she would forgive me. You know what I'm saying? That's the person my grandmother was.
Help you find the body.
Yeah,
Hide the
help
body.
me find the body.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Bailed me out of jail, all kinds of shit. But like, point is like, I just couldn't imagine my life if like I was still an alcoholic and went through losing the most important person in my life.
Yeah.
And, you know, also like just thinking back to like the little things, like the place that I live in 3 years ago, that place was bare. I had nothing. Now it's like, where the fuck? Like my spare bedroom is like filled with shit because it's just like, damn, I can afford this now. I'm not spending all my money on alcohol and drugs. Like I'm actually providing for myself. It's nice to wake up and not feel like shit. It's nice to be able to just live and do the things that I want to do by myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You actually have a life now.
I have a life, but I mean, trust me, like you and I have that witchy intuition. We know it can get a lot deeper than this, but like this is just the surface. But I am just proud to be alive and to be here and to share this with everybody else. And like Lucas and I used to party together. You know what I'm saying? It's like to have someone else here in front of me and we're both on the same path and didn't even know we were going to be here. It's fucking awesome.
It's a small
So
world.
I'm proud of you too, bro. It really is. I really am. It's so nice to see you.
A lot of people didn't survive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
A
we all
lot
know that.
we have
We've seen
lost mutual friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm like I said, I'm proud of a lot of things, but number one is I fucking made it. So I don't ever want to drink again. The thought of alcohol makes me want to vomit. So
Good for you. That's
Yeah.
I love hearing that.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that like you
Yep.
see the light and then we're just like, and another back to gratitude, being grateful
Yeah.
that you're alive. You think back all those years, what is it, 15, 20, 25
Yeah.
fucking years, and you're like, wow, that was a close call,
hell
bro.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, what? What
all
do
the
you
ti-
have
all
to
the times I could
Yeah.
have just
Yeah.
like gotten into an accident or just anything.
Yeah.
I have a fucked up ankle from falling downstairs when I was drunk. You know what I'm saying? Like there's
Yeah,
just
right.
so many.
Oh yeah, you think about stuff that you went through, and you're like, I can't
Yes.
imagine that happened to me now. Like what?
Especially,
Yeah,
it wouldn't have happened sober. I bet you.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. So
just the thought of like all the shit that
Yeah.
we was like, we're so cool. No.
No.
No. I was
Hope
not
those
cool.
videos never surface.
like you know how you said earlier how you were a shit human being when you were drinking?
Yeah.
I was a fucking terrible human being.
Yeah.
Like I think back and I look at all the relationships that I ruined, whether it be family, friends, whatever, and you're just like, damn, I was a shitty human being. And now you just want to apologize to everybody. And
Yeah.
I've actually started doing that.
Yeah, the step 5, that's in AA.
And
step
here's the
number
thing
5,
though, is
isn't
I
it?
didn't follow AA. I never, I mean, I've gone to AA as, you know, in the past or whatever. Like, and obviously, like, to be clear, when I was pregnant, I was completely sober, by the way. This isn't my first go around. This is just the longest, and I'm done. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I'm
right.
saying? I'm not going back in the past. But yeah, that was just eye opening, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This holiday.
I think the proudest thing I have is being a parent. I remember specifically being 18 and telling my mom, I'm never going to get married and never have kids. I'm going to be free the rest of my life. Rock on, right? Now look at me.
Rock on.
Second marriage, 1 kid, 4 stepkids. I think the best and proudest thing I have is that I'm evolving as a parent. So my oldest will, I tell her, be boisterous. I tell her, it took me a long time to be honest with myself that I was a crappy parent. Like I didn't care. For me, I didn't care about my kid, because if I cared about my kid, I wouldn't be doing the things I was doing. So that took a lot for me to come to that aspect where I could boldly say it and say that's not who I am. Like I said, my oldest wants to be a trauma nurse due to what she has seen, and she'll tell you. We talk about this one individual nurse that was at the detox center, and she wants to be that person. She's like, there was somebody in the healthcare system that cared enough about my mom that was a ripple effect. And it pushes her.
Awesome.
And all my stepkids, one lives with me full time, and the other 3, we get visit. And to see who I was, I met all of them when I was still using momentarily, but to see who I was then to them and to see who I am now, and I can actually say, man, yesterday I said it this way, and I probably shouldn't have said it this way. To have that sober mind to think and change and tell all 5 of my children, you know what? I shouldn't have said that, or I'm sorry. It might not be right in the moment, but to say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have yelled. I approached it wrong. Whatever that is, I think that's my proudest moment is that aspect of having that mindset of I can do it again tomorrow. Like if I can do this, I can do anything. And then kind of back to what you said, relationships. I never really broke relationships with my family when I was younger because we were all addicts. Like we all used each other, right? There was no good, healthy relationships. But the relationships that I have now are so solid.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So solid.
Quantity over quality. You're
yeah.
drinking. It's all using. It's
Yeah.
all quantity.
Yeah.
you
And
know?
I kind of where Brian was coming from, I didn't use with people. Like I was by myself. Like I'd rather just be by myself. But this is my second marriage, and to see that I'm able to grow and learn and not have that substance in my body to say, I was right, you were wrong. That's it. Final word. And to see all the changes that were my fault, to actually be able to accept that and say, okay, like it is what it is. Like I always tell my mom, she's like, how you doing? I'm like, I'm fine. Everything's fine. It's great. Awesome. We're great.
Yeah.
Even if the world is falling around me, it's going to be okay, and to have that sober stability to stand on and to build relationships. And when I say build relationships, I don't mean find somebody and have a relationship. I mean, take something that is either rocky or really firm and just make it so strong that nothing's going to break it, and I've went through things when I was sober that there's no way I could ever go through when I was using. No way. I would be like, nope, I'm done, wash my hands of it and move on to the next. So to actually put that time and work in something other than drugs, it's unbeatable. Like I wouldn't change it for the world. Like I just wouldn't. And to be able to talk to other women my age and say, listen, it's okay to tell people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like my ex-husband's like, stop telling people that. It's so embarrassing. And I'm like, bro, you don't think they seen that? They seen it,
Done more embarrassing
and,
shit.
and not only that, like, stop hide. I mean, it wasn't hide. You think nobody knew. Everybody knew around you.
Right.
Yeah.
So I tell everybody and anybody, I'm like, look, you want help? I can help you. You don't want help? I'm still going to keep asking you. I'm not going to drive you down, but at the same time, there's better for everybody out there. And I think this foundation is great. I'm so glad I ran across this because there's not enough places out there that you can advocate to somebody to say, hey, the place I went to, I didn't have to pay anything, right?
Yeah.
But I got the bottom of the bottom. Like once I walked out that door, that was it. Nobody ever called me. Nobody ever said, like, do you have somewhere to live? Do you have a system? What they told me was, you're not doing the system. You'll be back here in 2 weeks.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey,
Dang.
2017, I'm still clean.
Hell
but
yeah.
but to see the system, and they were ex-addicts. They use a lot of ex-addicts to do that. But I think this is great. Like just to have that counsel and that backup, like it's phenomenal. Like I said, I come from a very poor family. So I always thought like, I don't have money for that. I don't have money for that. And I mean, like I said, I didn't get great care. I got exactly what I needed, which was to detox for 5 days, and go on by my day. But a lot of people need that. They don't have anything. Fortunately, I did. I had my husband's family that really was there sober for me, you know, and it was a ripple effect. I seen other people in my family get sober after that. But yeah, just that clear mind of being able to help others, my kids, friends, anybody. I go to church and people are like, hey, see that person over there? You should go talk to them. I already know what it is. Got to, right? I already know what it is. And that's a great feeling to me, to be used in a good way instead
for a
of
higher power.
Yeah, instead of always in a bad way, always
Yeah.
being used for something bad. I'm being used for something good finally once in my life.
Yeah, isn't that funny that we all kind of have stories of just like coming from like feeling like shit about
Yep.
yourself, and now we're in a position where it's like, hey, it's not
Yeah.
so bad. I'm here. I'm a
Yep.
friend.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do one last question. We're gonna wrap it up because we are over 2 hours here, but you know we could, like I said, easily roll into 4 more episodes. So my last question is: what are any words or advice or encouragement towards people who are trying to get sober, stay sober, things like that? You know, my first words of encouragement is just like, you need to put aside all of this bullshit of being a human and focus on love. Like, there is so much more out there than your bottle, your fucking, you know, bag, your fucking traffic, your job. Like, all this shit is just so trivial and human and mundane compared to the reality of what is out there, and accepting that. Accepting, choosing again, love every single day, choosing love not only for everyone else, but for yourself first and foremost, like choosing to say, no, I'm not going to accept this. I'm not going to continue to be this. And you just have to do it, put it down, bro. Like, you know what I mean? And we're all here. We all been through there. You know, you can say what you want about AA. AA to me is like the 10 commandments. Like, I'm not saying that, you know, old white man in the sky is going to send you to hell if you don't follow this, but those are basic human principles for being a good person.
But
Like
he
you
might.
said about,
But he might.
but back to you, like the you know, apologizing, you know,
Yeah.
I was saying step, what is, I think 4 or 5,
Yeah.
don't quote me, I'm terrible. But, you know, in AA is writing those letters of amends, making your amends, you know, and that's always, when I come across stories, people are always like, that's the hardest thing is making your apologies. But if you just like put aside your human
pride.
ego, your
Yes.
pride,
Yep.
your bullshit,
Yep.
and just be like, hey man, I'm sorry, you know, and like you said, it like
Take
like you
responsibility
said,
for your shit.
Yeah.
yes, apologizing to your children for how you've treated them.
Yes.
Every single day I make sure my son knows I love him. I give him all the hugs and kisses in the world. You know, even the bullshit with my ex-husband who I was in active addiction with, you know, we've made amends where I'm like, hey, I forgive you. You know,
Yep.
that forgiveness is so important. Just my biggest word of advice is just put it the fuck down, bro.
Yeah.
Just put it the fuck down. You know, and we're so pre-programmed in today's society to believe that you need to be a user, you need to be drunk in order to have a good time, especially in our demographic. We're all raised up with what, the Jersey Shore? Like, come on, all we did.
I'm a little older than that, sorry.
Well, in the general range of it,
Yeah.
reality TV,
Yeah.
MTV, you know what I
Yep.
mean? That's all we did in our age demographic, is sit around and watch the glorification of drugs and alcohol. And now we're moving into a more enlightened period where we realize, like, this is a motherfucking demon, bro.
Yep.
Put it down. So with that said, Lucas, do you have any words of encouragement, advice?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say because everybody's an individual. Everybody takes things in differently, and
Yep.
everything that you say will affect everyone in a different manner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of us got sober with nothing, and everyone around the room went in between all the way up until death. You know, like
Yeah.
it depends. I mean, some people you can say, hey, go take your first step into an AA meeting, and then they're there for the rest of their lives. You know, and that's what saves them. Other people go into an AA meeting and then right to the liquor store afterwards. You know.
Yeah.
So it's you know, you can try to say everything that you can. It took me what I went through, so I don't know how to say, hey, this is the path to start on. But I do know that I had a lot of mental issues still, you know, because everything didn't just get washed away. You still got to work on yourself
Yeah,
after that.
absolutely.
After that's lifted,
Yep.
you still got to work on yourself. So if you do get that moment of clarity, that's kind of when it's time to take action, you know. Whether it be something that's a new hobby, a new habit, you know, you slowly start changing your diet, like
Yes.
just little things. And for me, what it was just little things, you know, over the course of the past 4 years, I couldn't change everything at once. I
Yep.
knew that before, when I tried to change everything at once, it would just come back and hit me in the fucking face, you know? I'd just give up. Oh, it's too much to change all at once. Fuck it, I'm just gonna go drink. Okay, well, this time around, Now that I have that moment of clarity, let me start taking small steps. Okay. I started doing things like collecting Transformers, find a collection, find a hobby,
Yeah.
Now I have a new habit. I go to the gym regularly. Like that was something that I took for granted. I took for granted being able to move, being able to walk, being able to take a shit, being able to speak, being able to eat. Like everything was taken away from me. So I love going to the gym. I get to move. I get to relish in all the things that I did take for granted that were taken away from me that could have potentially been taken away from me for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And if you have a dream, if you have aspirations, if you have something in your heart, in your mind, I knew at 8 years old I wanted to be a world's strongest man. But with the lack of guidance, with the lack of ambition, with the lack of drive, I only became the strongest person in my friends group. And then you see how far that got me. If you have a dream, start working on it, even if it's small steps. There's been a lot of things I've heard about people chasing a dream, and then that dream doesn't happen, but it ends up being the best thing that never happened.
Best journey.
It's the best thing that never happened. I think that's how The Rock said it in something that I listened to. It's like there's this whole like motivational speaking. It's different speakers, but the one of them that stuck to me was The Rock wanted to be a pro football player, but that was the best thing that never happened to him. Who the hell would Dwayne be if he was a football player? We wouldn't know him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But we know him as The Rock. He's got a whole brand. He's got a whole market. He's worth how much now? All because he didn't do his dream. So that was like really inspiring. Like even though I still want to be a strong man, I still want to chase that. I know that that's a far fucking cry from, for what I am now. But if I can make it to an amateur strongman competition in Chicago and at least appear in that damn thing, I'll be sufficed.
Yeah.
And it was when I lost that, I lost the vision of my dream, and I stopped applying myself. I surrendered myself to alcohol instead of surrendering myself to anything else. So, I mean, the only thing I could say is if you're stuck, if you're struggling, and it's for me, it was just hard to even turn away and put it down and get back into everything that I was so involved in. It wasn't just strongman shit. I like to play bass, do skateboard, snowboard. I like to draw. I like to forge. Like I've built my own. Like I used to do so much before I was consumed. And I think that's an important part is if you're trying to escape that, you really got to relearn yourself. Mm-hmm. You really got to find out what you like. You might not like the same things you used to like before.
So true.
But go ahead and try it because you're not going to know until you try it. Yep. And then once you start moving through those motions and you start trying new things, whether it be trying a recipe, whether it be putting down regular pop and getting 0 sugar pop, or whether you just drink the little iced caffeine drinks right there, like you make little goals. And then you start applying yourself towards these little goals. And then you'll notice if you keep track of them, you catalog them, you look at them, you become very self-aware of what you're doing. Catch yourself in those moments of weakness that you're trying to change. Write it down, catalog it, set yourself small goals. You'll see that these small goals will eventually start collecting into bigger goals. And then once you understand how you manufactured that first goal, you'll understand that you can do it on a bigger scale. Because you'll see how the system works for yourself. And like, once again, it's all individuals, man. I can't tell you how to do something. I can suggest how I can do something. Like right now, I'm still trying to pick myself up and put myself together. Like I had a small company, but it was a half-ass company because I was an alcoholic. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I did the YouTube channel thing. It never went anywhere because I didn't apply myself. And like now that I am meeting these little goals, like YouTube helps me not only stay accountable, like for my sobriety, because I'm trying to share my story, but it also keeps me accountable. Like when I want to go to the gym, hey, I'm going to show you my weekly workout. In order to do that, I have to show you every day because it's a weekly workout. Mm-hmm. Okay, I want to go live on Sundays now. So instead of I wanted to make videos for Sunday. So then I started okay, if I'm not going to make the video, just go live. There's no editing. There's no nothing. I'm still getting the video in. So it's like I took all of those lessons from smaller lessons, like even just, like I said, my diet. I didn't want to eat certain things anymore. I stopped bringing them in the house. I allow myself, a little sweet here and there to curb the craving. Yeah. So it's like you do have to apply yourself. Like I said, God helps those who help themselves. Not everybody looks at God or sees it as God. If you don't, you see it as yourself. Mm-hmm. Only you can help yourself. You're the open hand at the end of the arm. There's always that open hand at the end of your arm. You got to help yourself. But it always helps if you make yourself self-aware. I write so much. I write everything. I write notes. Hey, I heard something I want to touch back on. Hey, I have this idea for later. I notice that if I don't apply myself and put that down, I'm going to forget about it. And then I'm going to lose track. And then here I am 3 weeks later. Oh, man, I had this idea 3 weeks ago. Well, that's how you start getting yourself back in the same shit that you were in before.
Mm-hmm.
When you don't change your thinking, when you don't change your mind, when you don't change the way that you move through the day. And it could be something little, something little could change your whole life. Something as simple as, okay, get yourself a jug of water that has the 8 a.m., 9 a.m., something as simple as that. One small change in your everyday, and then you'll notice you'll be able to make a second change. And then eventually, a year later, your whole life is different now because you made small changes. But I mean, I understand that's where that focal point is. That's the hardest point to break, getting over that hill, because you get stuck in that mindset. You think that's all that it is. That's all you have. That's all you know. That's all you give a shit about. And man, I found myself lips on the bottle. Why am I doing this to myself? You know what I mean? Like, you'll find yourself in those situations. And why? Because I didn't change my daily habits. I didn't have no other hobbies. I left everything. If I'd have applied myself to even a 10% of my dream, I probably could have distracted myself long enough to escape alcoholism. Before I pass on, like, I wanted to be the man that deadlifted 1,000 fucking pounds, and Eddie Hall fucking did it. You know what I mean? Like, I got to watch somebody else live out my fucking dream. So whatever you got going on, just to start applying yourself on a daily basis, because, God damn it, I lost my dream. So.
Fuck that guy. We're going for 1,001.
But 1,001. Well, he already did 1,100, so he broke his own fucking record. Right.
1,100. Yeah, fuck that. Let's go 1,103.
Right,
That's
well,
right. You heard it here first. We were setting that goal for you, bro. 1,103.
But for real, like, I share my journey on YouTube. Everything. I try to share my days at the gym, because that is something that I had to break. You could almost equate it to as much time you've seen me at the gym on YouTube. That's how much I used to drink before, and then some. Because the camera turns off.
Yep.
When you're in active addiction, that camera don't turn off. But if you wanna, can I give myself a plug?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You can check me out on YouTube, Hackus Prime, Hackus Prime. You'll see this spiffy logo right there in the thumbnail. That's my channel. We call it the journey of broken to bulking. We were just a broken mess, and now we're trying to bulk up, and I'm going to take this damaged body as far as I can to pursue a little bit of my dream I can obtain.
There you go, buddy. Very
yeah.
proud of you. Thank you.
Hell yeah, Lucas.
Hell yeah.
Austin?
I think, like, really just a few key little snippets. Like, you've always been good enough. You just haven't realized it.
Mm-hmm.
Now's that moment. Why not you? Why not right fucking now?
Mm-hmm.
And something that someone shared to me when I was kind of asking this very spiritual person, I was like, what's the key? Like, dude, come on, tell me the secret. And he was like, he fucked with me for a little while, and then finally he was like, that was it. And I was like, dude, what? Stop. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then he said, approach life like a curious child. Then you're free.
Yeah.
You already are. Just be a curious child. And those have stuck with me a lot. And I agree with everything you said. I guess writing has been instrumental. I have straight up written things into existence, things that are not like little shit, 'cause it locks it into the mind. I don't know. Writing bypasses the ego in a way I have never found anything else to do. Like, I'll write down like a whole book of absolute bullshit, but then I'll get to one sentence that was just truth, pure truth, pure. Like my 4-step, when I realized like every relationship I'd ever been in was based entirely out of fear of either A, this is the best it'll ever be, or B, I'll be alone forever. And it was like, holy shit, dude. Like, you just get those little nuggets that just, and if you can lock them in, then it's like, it's a new base to work from. But I think you're already good enough, and you always have been. You just haven't realized it yet, and that moment's now. Because again, why not you? Why not now? If you ask someone that question right to their face, they can't give you the answer. They can't, because you have the same opportunity I do. And then approach life like a curious child. Then you're finally free. And definitely, I'm gonna pop that YouTube channel 100%.
Thank you.
And if you need help getting clean, Never Alone Recovery. If you need help making money, PennyBois Stock Alerts. And then if you want to be a part of a community and a project, Sad Boy on Solana. Check it out.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you, Brian.
Yes.
I would say you are more. You are more than your DOC number, than your trauma, than your broken home or whatever your experiences were when you were younger. You're so much more than that.
I love that. Thank you.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that is very.
Yeah.
You just get yourself so pigeonholed, even with actors. You get stuck into a certain routine, and it's like, yeah, change your people, places, and things first and foremost.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian. What about you, Miss Nikki?
All those like corny little sayings, like that you hear, like growing up and stuff about sobriety, like one day at a time, like they just all of a sudden like settle in and just make so much sense. So one day at a time was a big one for me. That like if you could just get through this moment, then the next moment, then the next moment, then all of a sudden you're there. So like with the cravings and stuff or the old habits, like you're in the same environment or with the same people and you're feeling that urge. If you can just hold on and just like take it a minute, and then all of a sudden it's a day. So it sounded so corny, but then once you actually do it, it's like very, very helpful and very empowering and very humbling all at the
Yes.
same time. But yeah, the one day at a time was huge for me. And then I heard a saying like play the tape forward. And that really helped me too in those moments of like when you feel like you might want to go back to your old way or to just think about like, okay, what would happen next then?
Yes, that's a
Because
huge
for
thing.
me,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
always like that first drink.
What if?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're chasing that same feeling
Yep.
forever because I would also black out or go to sleep
Oh,
because
yeah.
I just wanted more of that nice first sip feeling, like when it hits your stomach
Yep.
and just woo.
Last
and
time at the bar, everybody loved me.
yeah.
Yeah.
So just I'd be like, okay, that first drink will be amazing. But then I'll be 6 drinks in, falling asleep doing the same thing, and then I'll wake up feeling like shit again. And so once you're kind of like, I don't want to do that, and then it's much easier to like hang on through those couple moments or the hour or whatever and get past that craving.
Yes, this too shall
This
pass.
too shall pass.
Yes, that's so important.
Which I have tattooed on me.
There you go.
But another big thing, I love like tips and trips. Virgo, so
Yeah,
I need like strategies and having a substitute like a sweet treat or something when you want to drink was
Sparkling
like huge
water.
for me.
Oh,
Yeah,
Sparkling
like having
water.
going and picking out like all those fun little like drinks and snacks and then like assembling them and just being cute, like having a cute
Same.
non-alcoholic drink and
Yep.
being like, I'm so cool still.
It still feels like carbonation to me.
Give me that
So
Shirley
like
Temple on the rocks.
yeah, so having that
Extra cherries. I'm feeling spicy tonight.
Yes.
having that replacement was a big one, like having it ready. So like having a little plan, you know.
I love that. A little self-care moment instead of drink. I'm
Hell
gonna take
yeah.
a bath. I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
get a
And
bottle.
like be
of
super
sparkling-
extra about it.
Sparkling grape juice.
Yes.
Yep. I got one in my fridge right now.
It's fucking Y2K 1999. We're drinking our sparkling J. I love that. I love that. Thank you. You're bad. Amanda, what about you?
You have to want that shit. That is the advice I give to everybody. And also to touch back on like the proud thing. I missed a very important part, so I'm gonna touch back real fast. I'm 36 years old. My dad told me last year that he's proud of me. That was my number one.
Mm.
On top of everything that I already discussed, that was my number one. That was such a moment of like, holy shit. It felt so good. I can't, it felt so good. And like, just our relationship is the strongest it's ever been. And I couldn't be more thankful. And, you know, also like approaching situations and like everybody else has touched on, like being able to be like, hey, I fucked up, man.
Yeah.
Like I was the problem. Like, I'm sorry, you know, and taking responsibility and making those apologies and making those steps and realizing like, hey, maybe I'm not that great of a person, or I wasn't when I was drinking.
Mm-hmm.
Because now I'm kind of like, I'm not as social as I thought I was. And I get social anxiety, and I'm like, damn, when I was drinking, I was like the life of the party. I'm up dancing and shit. I'm doing everything, not a care in the world. And now that I'm sober, it's just like there's just that moment where it's just like I'm happy. I'm happy where I'm at. And the best advice I can give, like I said, is you have to want it and just run with it. Because if you even think twice about it, it's not gonna fucking happen.
Yeah.
Period. So.
No
Yeah,
reserves.
That whole I could be normal.
Nope.
No,
No.
there is-
We're not normal.
I've been there, done
I,
that.
like Lucas said, dude, like you're literally like learning to relearn your whole mindset.
Learn who you are.
Learn who you are, learn
Yeah.
what you like, learn what you dislike. There's certain things like I loved when I drank. I fucking would never touch it sober. One
Yeah.
being cocaine.
Yep.
I would never touch that a moment in my life sober. Never, ever, ever.
Yep.
But drinking, shit, where's it at?
Jeez.
Bro.
Shit, where's it at?
That's a whole nother
But-
podcast. That cocaine, that is the
Yeah.
downfall in this area. I have seen that shit
Yeah.
take more people than I would care to admit.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck that.
I'm so happy that like literally I killed 3 addictions at the same time.
Yeah, man. That's a huge everybody here.
Yeah, just chopping them
huge
off.
accomplishments.
Yeah, just fucking ate them all. So
There you go.
Yeah.
Very proud of you.
thank you.
Love you very much.
Love you too.
Yeah, all right. All right. Now we're all best friends. Moving on, Holly.
Mine's
you're
pretty-
my next best friend.
Mine's pretty simple. You matter. You matter. Just you matter, and you're worthy. You're worthy of it. That's it. Like it's just that simple. I think that so many people in addiction think that they're not worth it and they don't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't matter to anybody. Or you matter and you're worth it and it's worth it. 100%. Like if you
Absolutely.
could just get a hold of those 2 things, everything else will fall in line. Like he said, like I matter. What I want to do matters. What I want to learn matters. Who I am matters. And I'm worthy of that. I think that the low self-esteem and mental awareness or the mental diseases go hand in hand.
Yes. Yep.
And I think that more places need to do dual. They need to do mental and drug addiction together. I don't think you could separate them.
No.
I just don't think they're separable. So just know that you're worth it and you matter and your sobriety matters and your sobriety is worth it. 100%. Even if you don't see it, do it. You'll see it. You'll see it.
Absolutely.
I think that is a beautiful way to sum this up. You just pulled the Chuck Berry. Like,
Yeah.
we're done. There's nothing to follow
Mic drop.
up here. I don't know.
It's just simple.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Don't drink on antidepressants, by the way. Don't ever
I
fucking
just-
do that.
Yeah, or
No bueno.
operate heavy machinery.
Yeah.
It says that on the label.
I just feel like that was my biggest thing. Like, it doesn't matter if I get sober or if something happens to me. And this is just a recent thing. If I die tomorrow, it doesn't matter. Everybody will be okay. It matters.
Oh, yeah.
You matter.
Yeah,
Tremendously.
And I
absolutely.
think
Yeah.
that goes, like I said, hand in hand. And if you can just remember that everything you do matters. Everything
Yeah.
you do is worth doing,
Yeah.
regardless of what it is.
Yeah, I think another huge thing is overcoming that like crippling loneliness. Like
Yep.
all of us, I think, have basically touched on growing up lonely. I don't know if that's like a 90s, 80s kind of thing
Yeah.
where we're just like, but I know me and, like these guys saying like I spent a lot of time growing up alone and stuff like that. And
Yep.
I am so
oh my
lonely.
God, they're trying to show me up all the entire podcast.
And I think
Come on,
that,
Brian.
I think that like,
Trying to back
I
you
just start
up.
dancing.
Back you up.
yeah. Oh, I got the ladies here to be my backup dancers. All right, we should really quit this because it's like 3 hours and now we're just rambling. Are there any comments, questions, concerns?
Yes.
We have. Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, before we forget anything, be nice to them kids.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
them kids. Hug them.
Yes.
Put that fucking phone down. Go spend some time with them.
Yes.
Love them. They need that love and affection, man. If you don't want them to be on a panel like this, love them.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah,
there
right.
for them.
Yes.
I ain't playing, man. After I seen what I put my kids through and my parents through, being on both sides of the coin, love your fucking kids.
Yeah.
If there's
Yeah.
anything I'm gonna say right now, man, just love your kids.
and pour into them.
Show them.
Take care of them.
Yeah.
Show them. They're gonna be there. I'm glad that I got to do what I got to do as far as like work goes because I get the opportunity to be there for little awards and ceremonies. It's important because they see somebody. The minute they see you, they smile.
Yep.
Yep.
I have 4 kids. I've seen all of them be somewhere, looking, searching, wondering, and then the minute they lock eyes with you, bam,
Yeah.
smile on their
Yeah.
face. That's something that I'll never take for granted. I think your kids only grow up fast if you're not there.
Yeah.
If you're not there in that moment in that time, that's the only time they grow up
And they're
fast.
gonna remember all that too.
Man,
Yeah.
Be nice to them kids.
I
Yeah,
love to
exactly.
see all the involved dads and all the aware dads now
Yes.
because
Yeah, man.
I
Growing up
didn't have
without-
that,
growing up
and I
without
know a lot
sufficient
of
enough-
people didn't.
Growing up without sufficient enough love will fuck you up, and we're all proof of that.
Bro, this kid was smart. He was like fucking talking to Optimus Prime.
Hell
and
yeah.
shit. I just had strangers on the
right?
internet.
Doing my damnedest.
AOL.
Yeah, ASL. Yeah, we're not even gonna go deeper into
Looking for
this.
love in
Let's go
all
here.
the wrong places.
I did my damnedest. Harry S. Truman. I did my damnedest.
That was your fatherly role model, Harry Truman.
No, that was the plaque that my grandfather had in the back of his. Yeah, I seen that plaque because I was so lonely. I had something to read. I did my damnedest.
Hey, at least you looked
Are you there,
places.
Harry? It's me, Lucas.
It's me.
I'm back.
I got that plaque in my truck.
Holy
yo.
shit.
Did
He's
my
over here
damnedest.
talking to Harry S. Truman about
I
Doing
thought it
my
was weird me
damnedest.
talking to a wall.
shit. Okay, anyway, moving on. Anything else before we close up? Because a bitch is tired.
A bitch is hungry.
This is hard to tell. No, you've been
Yeah.
hearing my
Our
stomach
stomachs
growl.
are all
My
like,
stomach.
Oh, I thought it was just me.
No.
All right. Well, I'm gonna wrap this up.
I think my husband's sleeping in the back. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
It's his past his bedtime.
thank you for sticking around this long. We obviously have the peanut gallery back there that wants to run their mouth now. So
They've been quiet
know.
for the last 3 hours.
right.
got buttery
I
Brian.
got plans for you.
Dude, Austin reminds me of a cartoon, just saying. You totally remind me of like a cartoon.
Austin, you got some good dad jokes, don't you?
What kind of cartoon?
I don't know.
Cool.
You just remind me of a cartoon in the best way.
Thank you.
Totally understand what you're saying. Because when my son was, well, both of my sons was born, man, I had to step out the room and I had to cry because I was moved to tears just because seeing that life that came that I helped create, it was just so breathtaking, man. It was, It's something that takes over you, you know what I'm
Did you
saying?
cut the cord?
You know, and I didn't click the cord, man, because it's like I left. I was so overwhelmed because
It's a weird texture.
it was. The crazy thing about it was I was
He's
so
got temple to
overwhelmed
temple
because
cutting the cord.
how I knew it was just that, like before
trying to
my
leave her
boys
plugged
were
in.
born, I would say prior to that,
It's like 13
God
minutes.
had came to me and already told me I was gonna have 2 little boys. God had came to me in a dream and told me that I was gonna have 2 little boys. And when he told me that, both of my boys had tapped me on the shoulder, one on the left and one on the right, and said, "Don't worry about it, Dad. We on our way," and walked toward a white bright light. And then I woke up just like that. And I remember it because we was at a baseball game. It was like a Little League World Series baseball game. Indiana had just won the Little League World Baseball game, first time ever. And they walked down the tunnel. They said, "Don't worry about it, Dad. We on our way," and walked towards a bright white light.
Hell yeah.
And that's how I knew right then and there.
Well, see,
Oh.
Coach, you need to come back
And
for
when
our
they-
next
when they was
episode.
born, man,
Yeah, I think you need to be part of the spiritual.
I know.
Yeah.
I knew. You know what I'm saying? Like God talked to me all the time,
Yep.
every day. So I know what it feels like. I know all those things. You know what I'm saying? Me, I've seen people deal with addictions. I know what it like does to people. I've never been through it myself. I mean, do I drink? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I've never had it happen to me, but I've seen what it does. I grew up around it in the ghetto. I've seen what it does. So it's like, yeah, that's a road I don't want to go down.
Yeah.
Because I remember the first time God spoke to me, you know what I'm saying? And it was like, man, I felt like he sitting next to me right here, like, hold up, wait a minute. Am I hearing something?
Can't touch it, can't see it.
Like, no, you know? And so, like, I understand that. So, like, y'all's story is truly amazing and it's beautiful. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep touching the people you're doing. Keep reaching them. And if it's a quote that I can give you, and this comes from Jimmy V, he was a basketball coach. He always said, if you have your emotions to tears, move to tears. If you think and if you laugh, that is a hell of a day. You did all that in one day.
Yep.
You had a chance to think. You had a chance to have your emotions move to tears, and you just laughed. That's a hell of a day.
Yep.
And then I watched something on Jamie Foxx when he said, when he went through what he went through with a stroke, he said, "God, why is this happening to me?" He said, Don't worry about them bad people. They belong to somebody else.
Yep.
You belong to me. So remember, y'all belong to somebody else. Whatever's happening to them bad people, they belong to somebody else. Y'all belong to a higher purpose.
And God sees everything.
Exactly.
He
and
sees
keep
it.
pushing.
I think
Keep
God
pushing.
is everything and
Yeah,
every single.
that's a big thing for me. Is I had to give it like I don't have to fight the battle. I don't have to every time I see something because it would eat me alive. Like He sees it all. I'm
Hey,
gonna leave it to Him to do.
Give it to God. Let Him fight your battle.
Yep.
Yeah, let it be. That's
He's
a
in
big thing.
everything and everything that you see.
Yep.
Some
100%.
super beings, some supernaturals, and everything. So keep moving forward, man. Y'all are amazing, truthful, and beautiful people, man. I promise, man. Hey, man, we getting you on the radio, bro. We got, man, smooth
And he's so
jazz.
calm, right?
Some R&B, some of this like old school rock or something.
John B.
We getting you on the radio some way, somehow, man.
Brian is the James Earl Jones of this podcast. He's just back here to provide.
And he's in the cut. It was like the perfect place for him.
I told him that's why he needs to go there. That was on my decision. All right, I think that we're going to wrap it up. As always, if you are interested in sitting next to me doing this, please write in. We have a absolute flood of messages and interest in this. I'm willing to keep doing this as long as you guys are willing to show up, be
I am,
active,
for sure.
participate.
Yeah, let's
if
go.
you know anybody, tag them. I'll be posting this on the Crown Point pages, things like that, things in this area. Come through. We are obviously going to be expanding more into, as I said, spirituality, near-death experiences, paranormal investigating. That is my plan. I'm a spooky bitch. So
Get me on, get
with
me
that
on.
said, yes, love is always the answer. Let it be. Let's just quote Beatles lyrics. Go ahead, toss one out.
Come together.
Yeah, that's
Right
There,
now.
there you go. There you go. Listen to your Beatles and be about love. All you need is love. All right. Thank you, everyone, for participating. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Yes, look it. We're so
Much love.
technologically advanced. We have
Much love.
To all our
we have
one.
fanfare here.
I was
yes.
like, damn, they're cheering really loud, man. That's crazy. That's good.
They're hidden behind the
I
screen.
know, I
right
was
now.
tweaking for a second.
Laugh.
Whoa, dude.
It's like Full House in this motherfucker.
He's like, who's watching?
This is your brain on drugs.
Hit that again. Hit that one more time.
Ooh, do your.
Look at him zone
He's in
out.
pure bliss.
Show 'em what else we got. Show them.
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
Just insert Donald Trump.
I told you,
It's fine.
show him our best. Okay.
I love it.
Come on.
Have you ever had a dream that
You got to get that one where he's like, he's gay. He's
Bro, I was just talking about like a bottom ching, and you're just like pulling out the
Yeah,
fucking.
he's like, let me let you know what I've been doing.
Waiting for this.
What the fuck was that last one? Was that a
testing
sound
out
bit
the
from
sound
Oliver
board.
Twist?
He's gonna roll with those slurs. That's what I was looking for, like the slur one. Do that one.
Can we be done now? I have to pee.
Thank you.
That was really